If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor look too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life for broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at the beginning, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are done, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 40 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
But what is so important about driving faster than anyone else?
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
If like I wasn't a feminist, I don't know what I would be, if that makes sense. Like I don't really have like that's just all I know, I guess. And I guess I haven't really educated
That actually
myself.
makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Feminism is basically the air that we breathe, and it's the water we swim in, whether people know it or not. It's ingratiated in society. So you may not have any other position other than that. So if you say, I really don't know anything besides feminism, I believe you.
Thank you.
It's the mainstream. Do you guys believe in the patriarchy?
But it's still a bad position. It's still like what you just saying.
And what is that? So what is the patriarchy?
It's patriarchy's when like men rule, right?
Mostly, right?
Men rule, women drool. Wait, what? Okay, that's it.
No, that was my fault.
Say it. Can you say the patriarchy is awesome?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
The patriarchy is awesome.
That one, that's for you, Grid One Motorsports.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. We're going to have Keita and Steve Anderson, Keita Busse and Steve Anderson joining us. Pixie, not that Pixie. Pixie will join us as well. That is Keita's daughter. She's going to talk for a few minutes. All that's coming up in just a few minutes. I'm just going to do a quick intro. It seems like a lot of people are over watching the debate on well, it's not a debate, it's a dog pile over on Sarah's channel. I don't blame them. I was over there for a little while. It is actually really boring. That guy absolutely has no clue about anything, and all he did was take NBC talking points and just make some stuff up. That's all he did. That's all he did. So that's okay. It is what it is. And a lot of people, I guess, are over as well at the Powdered Dusty watching debate about Greenpeace losing 700 and something million. That's cool too. But that'll probably be very boring as well because Ghosty's involved. Not that Ghosty's not big or not big fun, but not as cool as she used to be. Also not super smart. So while I'm waiting on the others to join us, yeah, there are some lives in the sphere, and our audience is very shared. It's all right. I don't care. The idiot on Sarah's channel tonight is exactly that idiot. I beat that guy. I mean, that guy has no clue, man. Like, it's literally all just NBC talking points. It's pretty terrible. 30 minutes back on Sarah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't I mean, honestly, the problem with this, the problem with the The problem with that guy is literally like none of his talking points they're just talking points. There's no substance there. He doesn't have an argument. He doesn't have anything to back the position. It's just because I said so and because of my feelings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Keita and Steve, and we're going to everybody say hi. Obviously, people will keep trickling in, and that's cool. So let's get it going. Let's go. There they are, Keita and Steve. You're muted.
There we go. How's that?
There you go. That's way better.
You know, we do podcasts all the time. We're used to muting and unmuting. We drive by that stuff constantly. How are you?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that literally everyone has trouble with sound. I don't care who you are. There's too many buttons to push, and it gets interesting.
Yeah, I've been doing a podcast for 10 years, and I used to torture people by playing Van Halen on my phone into the microphone. How'd that sound, Keita?
Yeah.
She actually rage quit my podcast 10 years ago because she said it was unlistenable. She's like, I like what he's saying, but this music is horrible and it sounds bad. So yeah, we don't do that anymore.
That's awesome. Props on the rage quit. You know, if you can get a rage quits are where it's at. I was actually I just did a quick drive by of the debate panel. And as I was talking about earlier, I do that from time to time. And this young man who is probably mid-20s, 28 maybe, probably out of college. He says he's got a good job, all of that nonsense. Yeah, they always call me boomer, but I'm not a boomer. Yeah, I'm old, but I'm not that old. And but anyway, literally every one of his talking points about Orange Man bad, every single one of his talking points was just out of NBC.
Right.
No substance, just assertions, just claims that he couldn't back up. And so I tortured him a little bit on public education, which we will go into shortly, I think.
Sure. Hey, I have a question for you about internet debates.
No, we're not.
Hang on 1 second, because this is really important. Have you ever witnessed anybody changing their mind? Like, have you ever had somebody say, you know what?
Yes.
That's a good point. I agree. Like on guns, for example. You can get them into a corner, I think, sometimes. And they'll go, you know what? Maybe people should have guns. Maybe it is all right. But how often do you see that?
So it depends on so again, this is all when in debate, in actual debate, you never change anyone's mind. Right. In blood sport debate, you can, because usually they're taking a position that they don't really have strong feelings about, or they have really strong feelings about. And a lot of times it's just feelings. So I had a debate with this guy named Nordic Dan or Norway Dan. I don't know. Anyway, he's from the frozen north. And it was a 1v1 debate. And the subject was, should we change the voting laws so that it's one vote per household? And
the man would get the vote for sure, right?
Right.
right. And so it was a spinoff of the repeal the 19th, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily think that's, because there are, men and women live single for times, but and it would be based on your tax base as well. So if you didn't pay taxes, you got no vote, right? So if you don't pay into the system, even if you get a refund, that's fine. But if you don't pay into the system, if you're not a productive member of society, why are you voting? Why are you voting for tax dollars to be spent? That's stupid.
Right.
And so and I actually changed his mind. Like at the end of it, he took the opposite. I took the assertive, and at the end of it, he's like, "You actually, I concede. You completely changed my mind on this." So it was a great debate, and I've done that several times, but it's rare. It's going to be rare, because most of the time, people are it's a matter of their feelings, and people don't like to change their feelings. Sure. It's literally like asking a Glock guy to pick up a 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Pixie has a friend over, so she won't be joining us.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. And that's perfectly okay. So why don't you two introduce yourselves? to the folks watching and will watch in the future, because this does go as a pod.
Well, you knew I was going to have you go first, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Ladies first. All right. Hello. My name is Steve Anderson. I was the first USPSA Grandmaster in the state of Ohio back before YouTube. At that time, it was thought that only a professional shooter could become a Grandmaster. And because I achieved very high levels of guitar playing and musicianship, I said, if I'm a human being, I can do it. And then I wrote the first dry fire book that ever existed, what I consider to be the dry fire book. Any dry fire book after mine is based on that one, and I'm very proud of that. And then I wrote a few more books. I was on the super squad, my first 2 nationals, and I discovered that the mental game is a thing. Mm-hmm. And then I reached out to Lanny Basham and said, Lanny, I'm having some mental game problems. And I told him what was going on. He goes, you need to quit. I said, quit the sport? Yeah, quit the sport or quit thinking like that. So to shorten up that story, I went and gave Lanny a big old wheelbarrow full of money. And now I am licensed as one of, I think, 12 authorized mental management coaches to teach mental management online and in person. And I also do 6 or 7 different types of pistol courses, on-range pistol courses. My specialty has always been gun handling at the limit of human function, and now through the lens of the mental game. Because if the mental game is keeping you from getting your skill, there's no point in trying to get more skill. Mm-hmm. Did that pretty much cover the highlights?
Yeah.
All right.
Those are the greatest hits.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I am Coach Keita Busse with 180 Firearms Training. My specialty is movement and vision training. So I also wrote the book Smart Move, Economy of Motion for the Shooting Sports, which is the only book that exists for movement in the shooting sports. So I travel all over the world teaching movement and vision training, and I have at least 10 national champions in various countries and a few world champions as well.
Hey, I have champions too. I should have led with that. You do.
You should have gone first so I can copy you.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to tell you some things about Keita that she won't tell you herself. She's not really into self-promotion, and she hates salesmanship or anything that reeks of salesmanship. So I was aware of her in the industry, and I did not know anything about her. The only thing that I knew was that she was not a champion, as we understand the term to be. Right. She was not a high-level competitor because she was more interested in the science of transporting the gun from point A to point B. Her exposure to the sport, the first thing she said was, well, if I understand the scoring correctly, you guys are wasting a lot of time when you're not shooting. And so she took over the half of the sport where you're not actually shooting the gun, which of course you're in hit factor scoring, your hit factor is 0 when you're not shooting. Mm-hmm. So she reduces the amount of 0 hit factor you have in your stage. And the reason that we're such good friends now is she is smarter than people know, and people need to know what she knows.
So what I did was, when I first got into the sport, there was no research at all on the sort of the dead time, what you're doing when you're not shooting the gun. All the information was on shooting the gun. So I saw this huge gap, and there was no research on it. So I took research from other sports, tested my hypotheses on top shooters all over the world, figured out what worked, what didn't, and what didn't matter either way. So now I wrote a book based on that research, and that's available.
And how can they get that book?
You can email me 180firearmstraining@gmail.com.
And you'll autograph it with your little 8th grade autograph?
Of course.
And maybe draw a little bunny or a heart or something?
I'll put a little heart.
Oh, that's fantastic. Looks like an 8th grade note. And what I want to add, just to finish up the introductions, we have begun doing classes together that I call Science and Simplicity. We take her highly technical understanding of how the human body needs to transport a firearm from point A to point B. I cover what to do with the firearm when you get there, and it's all done through the lens of the mental game, so you get immediate access to it. Like I learned from Lanny how to win the Olympics. And if Lanny can teach me how to win the Olympics, I can teach you how to win a USPSA match. And the classes we do are amazing. If you're interested in that opportunity, we can do it at virtually any range. Email steve@andersonshooting.com or Lisa Kudrow at friends.net. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 180firearmstraining@gmail.com. You look like
there you go. There you go. I like that. That was funny. So I haven't been as aware of Steve just because I never read your dry fire book. I have read Ben's, and it's okay. I developed and we were talking about dry fire earlier, right? And I stopped from getting into it. So when I was a kid, I used to shoot my BB gun from the hip at basically anything, stop signs,
Okay, Taryn.
clumps of dirt, all of it. And so I was, and I didn't realize this at the time. I mean, like, 10 years old. I didn't realize it at the time, but what I was really doing was learning how to coordinate that, I'm going to shoot this and it's going to hit that thing over there. And then I was always really good with a bow. I shot a recurve with no sights, all instinct shooting. And so when I first picked up a pistol, what's that?
I said, that's where we're going to tangle, but it's okay. I can see it coming. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's going to be fun.
So, so when I picked up a pistol for the first, because I was always a decent rifle shooter and all that. When I picked up a pistol for the first time, I was okay, right? And then I started doing, and now this is antique time, right? Like we'll just take you back to like 1990, when USPSA was like only in Florida, and
it was big.
Huh? What's that?
Florida's a big USPSA state, yeah.
Yeah. It was all. I think they developed it in Florida. I think that's where they launched. Went from IPSC to USPSA, or made the jump from IPSC to USPSA. But so while we shot, were like bowling pins and plates and steel poppers, right? Like that was the I don't even know that we really shot paper. Maybe we did. It's been a long time. Hadn't thought about it. And I shot an iron sight, obviously, because that's all, that's what anybody shot, but more or less just a fixed rear sight, 1911. And it was a custom 1911. I mean, for the time, it was really cool. And I found that I had a pretty, and this is where the evil of the FBI training manuals and all of that teaching that people were still teaching Weaver back then, which is weird. And to the crowd that don't know what I'm talking about, go research the Weaver stance and why. Yeah, right. Yeah, do the revolver.
So what's really interesting is IPSC was started as a testing ground for law enforcement gear and techniques. So the Weaver came, they were all doing this. And I believe, was it Jack Weaver? Was his first name Jack? I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
So
Yeah,
Jack Weaver said, no, you need to do this.
Support that.
And so they said, okay, you're going to do that. I'm going to do this. We're going to have a match. And then one guy says, I like a 38 revolver. Cool. I like a 45 1911. But because your 38 is so wimpy, you're going to be scored differently than my 45. That's where Major Minor came from.
I still have an FBI training book where they show the agents doing all of the one-handed maneuvers with the 38 M&P.
I think maybe in that case, FBI stands for freaking bad index, right?
Yeah, it's probably true. And so I still have you just recalled that I have that book sitting in my bookshelf.
Nice.
But so I learned a modified Weaver stance in 1990. Right. Exactly. And it was okay. You could hit things with it. It wasn't super fast. But and then red dots came out and there was no classifications. It wasn't open or any of that. And so if you didn't have a red dot, you were done.
It was designed to test that, right? Do we think a red dot superior? And if so, you got to, if you don't think it's superior, you got to bring whatever you think is.
Yeah.
And we'll let the match decide.
I was in the I can't afford it camp, so that's what I was in college, man. And but I've always been a reasonable pistol shot. But pistol has always been my weakest game. I don't even really practice rifle.
That's very typical of three gunners.
Yeah,
if you get a pistol, you're going to start winning.
Yeah. I don't practice shotgun hardly at all, and I barely practice. I practice long range rifle, close range rifle. I don't even aim the rifle at. I point shoot anything under 10 yards. Like I know I'm gonna, like, even small paper, I point shoot it. with the rifle.
Do you like to listen to other podcasts when you're not doing your own podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, I did one called Point Shooting. It's dumb, and 127 other mistakes you're probably making.
Yeah.
That Nils Jonassen. Oh no, he recommended a different one. But yeah, point shooting.
I like Nils. Nils is cool, dude.
Is dumb.
Yeah, Nils is a cool dude.
He is a cool dude.
And
there are different degrees of sight picture.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. And when I say that, so, and obviously I can't pull it off all, but when I say that, I mean I have the rifle kind of shouldered, but my head's up, and I know, I have a decent enough index.
It's going to go where your finger's pointing.
More or less. So, and that goes back to the recurve bow, because when I would shoot recurve, and I have one right here. Actually.
You know much about archery?
So when I shoot recurve, I know that I literally stick that finger out, and I'm pretty good with where I'm going to hit without the sights. Now, this one has sights, but the other
take them off there. You don't need them. Just point shoot the thing.
Yeah,
it's fine. Point shoot everything.
Point shoot everything.
Just point shoot everything.
That's a cowboy thing. I'm not that big a cowboy.
Well, I would say on like a 5-yard target, basically the outline of the gun in front of the target is your sight picture.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. But I will. So I will
be aware of your
again.
sight.
You can tell that I don't shoot USPSA because I run a drop leg holster, and I always figured that if I was going to dress like a gunfighter, I should act like a gunfighter. And I would literally do the Terran thing of just pulling and shooting with that, just like. And I found out that I had to tell the ROs, because a lot of times they would give me a funny look, or I got stopped a couple of times on course, and I will literally tell them, I'll say, look, the gun's going to come out of the holster. You're not going to see me use the sights. I am purposefully shooting this target and that target, and I'm not going to that gun's not coming anywhere near my sight line.
Can I ask you a first question about that?
Yeah.
How much time do you think you're saving?
A lot, actually. No, but that's
so. Can you get out of the holster and into your hip position and fire the shot in 0.6 of a second or less?
I'm not even bringing the gun all the way up.
I understand.
I'm just pulling the gun.
Can you do it in 0.6 of a second or less?
I haven't measured it.
Ballpark. Do you think so? Do you think you're close?
No, it's probably 0.8, 0.9.
Okay, so after 6 months of dry fire, you could get that gun out of the holster and into the dot on target or an acceptable sight picture in 0.6 of a second after 6 months of dry fire or less.
Yeah, I'll have to measure it now that you mention it.
Yeah,
but
I do a video. Time your first shot, like do a shot at 7 yards on steel out of the holster, and let's see where you're at.
Yeah,
because you are welcome to do that. But do it for a different reason than that you don't have time to see your sights. Do it for a different reason.
No, that's not the problem. It's not a question of seeing the sights. It's just the target is so close, and I'm not going to stop. I'm literally coming out of the holster, hitting those two targets, and then bringing the gun up into my grip for whatever presentation I'm moving into.
That's great. And if you can do it in less than 0.6 of a second, it may be faster. All I'm saying is that regular dry fire gets you out of the holster, normal stance, normal grip, great sight picture.
I will agree with that. And one of the things, I will actually go further. I think most people don't practice their draw enough. I see most of the mistakes I saw as a match director was people coming out of the holster and building that position, and it just being slow.
What do you think?
I guess I don't see that a whole lot. The draw only happens once per stage, so I think there are a lot of other things that are.
You guys don't. Oh yeah, you guys don't hot holster.
Yes, you're talking about 3-gun.
Two different sports. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And to her point, right? Maybe you do even less draws in 3-gun than you do in USPSA. Is there a pistol on every stage? I don't think so. Not every stage.
Not every stage. I mean, it's getting more common that every stage will have pistol just because of ammo prices. No,
one thing that is unique about our perspective, she works with a lot of people that are attempting to win a state or national title and are attempting to place well at the world shoot. So
Yeah.
most of her private coaching is an extremely high level because of her background. I get people, my bread and butter is getting people that are stuck in C class the heck out of C class. And if they're willing to work for it, we can take them.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard that one. I've heard of that. Getting stuck in C.
You want to talk about that?
I have no idea what it takes to get out of C class. I've heard about it. I don't shoot. I haven't shot a USPSA match since 20.
So this will be very interesting, and you might get an argument out of us, which is very entertaining, by the way. Why do you think people get stuck in C class?
They don't want to practice.
They're living a C class lifestyle. We agree.
That's right. I agree with that. I think that most people don't practice. I don't think most people practice their draw. I don't think most people don't practice building the grip and if you're a punch out guy, whatever it is, I'm not married to any specific.
So I actually have a question for everybody. Do either of you know of a sport or hobby in which people expect to improve without practice? Any other sport or hobby?
No, and it's always surprised me. Like I drive. I mean, when I'm actively shooting, right? Like if I'm actively going out and competing, and I remember I'm old, so I'm slow, and I'm I'm prone to hurting myself because I'm stupid. But I can't. I've won. I beat Jason Carrillo on a stage, handily, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, but I can't string a whole match together. I'm not young enough.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah,
that's not
I know. I was going to get that from you. I could do it if I really tried, but I look around, and when I was a match director, and I would go to stage to stage to stage, I'd see the same people making the same mistakes the same way every single time they showed up. And
I know what you mean, though, that 3-gun does have longer runs, and it is a little bit more athletic.
Oh, it's definitely athletic, especially the matches I choose to shoot, right? But. And I know you guys are, so I look at USPSA as something that if you are not practicing, you thought I was making fun of it earlier, and I kind of was, but you have to practice your dance moves. You have to, in your head, go, I'm going 2 steps, 3 steps, 5 steps, and you can, if you listen to my video walkthrough of a stage in 3-gun, you will hear me to myself on the video in the walkthrough say, I'm going to do 3 steps. I'm going to turn. I literally load that mental programming in the very first time I walk the stage, the very first time I video it. I'm like, I'm going to shoot rifle here. It's 20 targets, drop mag, reload, sprint. You will hear me say sprint, or, I've got to go up a tunnel, or I've got to go down whatever I've got to do. You will literally hear me say that in the video, and I don't understand why other people don't do that. I do. And they get there and they don't, and they like freak out. They're like, they forget everything that they like.
I know that too. I know why that happens too. But first, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you advocate counting steps when you're walking stages or at all at the match?
The only time I would ever recommend potentially counting steps is if you're trying to choose between 2 plans to see which one is significantly less. And even then, if it flows better the other way, it sometimes makes more sense to take the longer route.
So I hear you talking about flow a bunch. Is flow a feeling or a calculation? Meaning, let's say I'm going to choose a plan that is obviously going out of my way, right? It's too much.
It's the way your body works the most ergonomically.
But what if I feel like it flows, but it's not smart?
Then you're going to be more confident and you're going to do better.
Even if I'm adding a stop or doing something really dumb, but I like the way it feels.
You're going to do better. You're going to execute it better if you like the way it feels.
I agree. Okay, we're back on track. No arguments here.
So when I'm talking to myself about steps, it's more about the distance. 3 steps to me is 10 feet, right? That's because I'm not walking, I'm running generally. Sure. I'm like, anyway. So I'm not, and I'm looking for specific positions. Like I look for a rock or a whatever, and usually not some. And I really don't like to do it at the ground. I like a sight picture, even coming in. Like, so if I'm running into a position, I want to be where as I come in, like the edge of the barrier wall is just in my vision here, right? Or I'm looking at this target. And this target I can cover with my hand if I'm coming in, I'm this distance.
The thing I thought Steve was going to say that he didn't say, and maybe you're getting to it. Oh, he's going to get to it. Okay.
No, please go ahead.
When you were talking about your stage planning, you were using words, and rather than programming the words, it's better to program the actions. Otherwise, it takes up too much mental energy.
So what I would like to explain to you and
how many times you walk a stage?
Once.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's
for me.
Right. No. I mean, all right. Let's kind of back up a minute, because I have 3 guns to manage. Usually I have props to negotiate, and and depending on the match, I may have something really stupid. I may have a stupid task to perform. Right.
Of course.
And so for me, my first run, you'll hear me in the video talking to myself about all of this stuff. And that's to get that locked into my subconscious of I have to do this. And then I walk through it, and I will try different ways, different lines, sight pictures. The one thing I try really hard not to do is if there's 2 ways of doing something, and I will pick the one that I think is I'm going to do if everything is going wrong. If I trip, fall, whatever, and again, this is just when I did do USPSA, I did kind of sorry.
Do you mean contingency plans?
Yeah, like if I trip or fell or something like that, I wanted to be able to just get right back on track, right? Like I would, and that's just me. Like I'm nobody. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not I'm not the sharp end of the stick. I'm not.
Anytime you have a choice to make that is not, to use a broad term, anytime you're doing something that's not dumb, which was the point I was trying to make on flow. I can't flow something dumb, but I can execute it well.
Yeah.
But it may not be a good hit factor, a good time.
May not be pretty.
I will execute it very well. Now, what I wanted to say though is I forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. Please continue. So what you were talking about the programming, you want to be reducing the amount of conscious thought the closer you get to shooting, which is why she seized on the fact that those words become thoughts for your conscious mind. And you said my favorite word, I got so excited. You said subconscious, because people will talk about shooting well and they will use every word, every phrase in the book except the word subconscious.
Well, see, now that's I was actually about to say that. So once the buzzer goes off, all thinking stops, and it's all subconscious except for gross, like I need to stop over there. That's as much of conscious thought as I'm putting into it. The targets are where they need to be. They're all in my subconscious. There's no, and I go back to Jerry Mikulik once told me there's no thinking while shooting. If you're thinking and shooting, you're slow. It's just bad. Just everything has gone wrong if you're thinking while you're shooting.
Did he have any advice for you on how to stop thinking if you have?
No, he didn't. He was just like, he just told me that, and he's like, well, see ya.
So I like visual cues a lot.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you might have something you want to say about that.
I'll let you continue. Please do.
So rather than using words to say, I'm going to stop over there, I pick a point I'm going to look at so I know when my foot is going to land there. And then as soon as I know my foot is going to land there, I can get my eyes up on the target.
Yeah, that would be a foot marker for me.
Yeah, and if you can, you want to have them at eye level, but sometimes you have to have them on the ground or somewhere else.
So one of the things back in about 2013, 2014, it might have been 2012. I don't remember. Long ago, galaxy far, far away. I listened to a TPC podcast or whatever video, and they were talking about this subconscious and programming and all of that. And one of the things that really got me is that Ken was talking about, while you're doing it, you shouldn't be thinking, why are my sights kicking off to the right? They don't normally kick off to the right. You just fix the problem. And then later, so your subconscious should just correct for that, make it happen, and then move on. And if you start having to get your conscious brain involved, everything slows down. And afterwards, right? So afterwards, you get into this state where when I'm playing it back in my head, I remember, oh, my sights were kicking off because I put my hand down when I jumped over that log and I had mud on my hands. So my grip wasn't my grip, right? And I had to adjust for that. I don't think about that while I'm actually doing it. And one of the things, and this is just me. I don't know that anybody else does this. It's just me. I alluded to it earlier that once I'm off the course, if you asked me what I hit or missed, I wouldn't be able to tell you. You give me 5 or 10 minutes to get for everything to kind of come back in from the subconscious for it to kind of meld back in. I can tell you every target I missed, everywhere I thought I shot an A, but I didn't because I pulled the shot. Everywhere I thought I was right, or what, I can literally just walk you through every step that I took and why I did it, right? But if you ask me afterwards, I'd be like, I have no idea, man. Immediately.
If an action is truly subconscious, we don't remember it, right? When you drive to work, you're not going to remember.
I was about to use that. I was about to use that very thing.
Now, if something weird happens, like if your favorite road is closed and you have to take a detour, you'll remember that because that requires the conscious mind.
Right.
But driving is the best example.
I use that example a lot when I talk to people about how I do it. And I do it, where I talk about how you get in your car every day, you drive at 75 miles an hour, 3 feet from the guy next, from another car, or 8 feet sometimes. You don't even remember what that car is. You don't remember passing it. But if somebody later said, hey, do you remember that Corvette that you passed back there? You'd probably be like, yeah, I do actually. I do remember that. But if you, but in the moment, you have no idea. Like, what was that red car you just passed? I don't know. Yeah. You have to look in a rearview mirror. But if you just have time for your brain to catch or to download or however you want to look at it, and I use that example a lot, and it's the same thing in motorsports, right? So I just melded a lot of this over from motorsports, and I was alluding to this earlier. So one of the things that helped my job, my career, a lot was data acquisition. And that is, I would talk to a guy and he, of course we were doing road racing, and you'd be like, so turns 3 and turn 6 are the exact same corner, just a different entry, or maybe it's just different scenery or whatever. Why are you slower in 3 than 6? Well, 6 might have some grass on one side that obscures your sight line or something like that. You might put some fear in you, or maybe the angle that you're coming in on, it's a little different, and you just don't think that you can go through that. Your subconscious starts fucking with you a little bit, thinking,
nope, it's not your subconscious.
Well,
your subconscious has nothing to do with that. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, your mind starts doubting itself.
But which part of your mind?
Well, I guess that would be the conscious mind. You'd be starting to make decisions. Go ahead. All right. Go ahead.
It's your self-image does that.
Self-image? Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. We'll get back.
I sure hope so.
We'll get back. No, we're going to do it right after. So one of the things and actually, I think you're right.
I know I'm right.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because what would happen is that once we got data, or you'd say, and you'd be like, where are you flat out? Well, I'm flat out here. Where are you braking at? I'm braking here. Are you sure? How much are you braking? Oh man, I'm hammering. I'm at lockup. Once we got data in the cars, I can see every single thing they do in millisecond time, and I can overlay it and compare. And so where a guy and one of the first things we found is when guys would say, well, I'm flat out, they'd be at 75% throttle.
Right.
You know, when they'd say, well, I'm hammering the brakes, they'd be barely touching the brakes.
And what's keeping them from doing that is self-image. It's no different than Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. After he crashed that car, his self-image prevented him from doing it again because he's scared.
It's good, healthy fear for sure, I think.
Well, but
or perception.
But if I'm afraid, I can't be a good race car driver if I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Yeah,
right. And so all his dad did when he strapped all that Colombian Bam Bam to the bottom of his car was rebuild his self-image. That's literally a mental management movie, Talladega Nights.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's but that's one of the things that helped me in shooting was actually the motorsports thing. And so I just really don't trust it. If I think I'm going, I ask other people, hey, was I running like as hard? Was I like really running hard through there? Because I feel like I was flying, but maybe I was just kind of half stepping it through there, you know?
Would you talk about that, please? Would you talk about people's perception of effort and speed of movement and what's actually happening?
Yeah, your perception is not always accurate. Have you seen those memes of perception versus reality?
Probably, but it's, you know.
Well, another thing that happens too sometimes is tachypsychia, where time seems to slow down.
Yes.
And you feel like you had all the time in the world. Or for some people, they say they see bigger targets.
Mm-hmm.
For me, time feels like it slows down, and it's a little different for everybody what they experience.
Yeah. Now, I also want to know from you, do you run across people who capture that feeling and do really well and then try to recreate it physically by actually slowing down? Have you ever met somebody like that?
I typically see people physically slow down when they were overrunning their sights.
I see. But you've not had somebody specifically try to recreate tachypsychia by physically slowing down?
No.
Okay, good, because that would be dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I'm gonna. So I had a very specific. I'm gonna tell you. I had a very specific experience at the Battle for the South the first year I shot it, and it was a jungle run, shotgun start, pistol, a very short pistol section, and then rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got to carry all of your crap on you. We're not staging anything. So I shoot the shotgun, shot shotgun very well. Pretty good time. And I still think in splits, right? Because in race cars, we do splits for every corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still think like I section out my shot, you know, like shotgun, I did great. Pistol, I did pretty good. But in the coming down the hill, I went really hard on it. And as I dumped the pistol and unslung the rifle and went to get my rifle mag had dropped, and I way back where I'd drawn my pistol. So I yelled backing and just threw the gun over my shoulder and just sprinted back.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell. When I fell, I must have touched my ear probe because I had the offspring come out and play at max volume in my ears. And I'm not stopping to turn it off. So then it becomes a video game. And I had a D60. I had maybe 18 targets to shoot with rifle, maybe. And I emptied the D60. And at the end of it, because I was trying to make up that time, which you can't do. You can't make up time.
Right.
But I was trying. I was trying to just I was trying to exceed what I had programmed in. Because of that, and I was putting 3-4 rounds on every target, and it was crazy. Brass everywhere. I outran the trigger, and I broke the Trigger Tech diamond trigger in the rifle.
Oh.
And I couldn't figure out why. It's like just the gun stopped working. I couldn't figure out why. I sent it back to Trigger Tech, and that's what happened. That's what happened. And I can remember literally every step of that stage. from the moment I shot the first shotgun slug, the 3 clays on the ground, run down the hill, the steel, all of it. I can remember every bit of that stage.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, yeah, because I think it's where I massively screwed up. I screwed up because I didn't tighten my mag in.
Wait. Hang on. What you just described, if you have that vivid memory of every task, then that is not a subconscious task, right? You did not do that subconsciously. And so the point I'm trying to make is we need to use the right words. She gets very irritated with me because you used to. I think you're understanding now. Yeah. If we're gonna say something, oh, I did it without thinking about it, or like Jerry Mickens, just quit thinking. Well, if I'm really overthinking that day, that's not gonna help me. But if he says to me, let it be subconscious, and then explains to me how I can do that, I'm very interested in that. So I try to use the right words so that we can have the same conversation. It's pretty cool.
Words have meaning. They're important.
Sorry?
Words have meaning. They're important.
Absolutely. Like I think when I finally got Keita to understand my position on that, so she knows how many languages do you know?
A few.
She knows a few languages. So if she's going to teach me Swahili, would you please say a Swahili word?
Hapana.
Okay, I don't like that one. So I'm going to say habanero. Okay, I don't like that word. So I'm going to call it habanero, right? Yeah. But now I'm not speaking Swahili. I'm speaking something different. So if we all use the same words, we understand what they mean, we can have a meaningful conversation. Everybody gets what they need to get out of it. But what you are saying, so would you call yourself kind of an average USPSA participant?
In USPSA?
Yeah. Don't practice very much, not super active, maybe shoot for fun once in a while.
I haven't shot it since 2016. I'm not even kidding about that.
But when you did, were you?
When I did, I would shoot. I shot every match I could, which was maybe 2-3 times a month. But I didn't take it seriously.
Right.
I didn't change my holster rig. Literally every single event, and I would enter in limited, and every single event, I'd have somebody come over. Hey, that holster's not legal for limited. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm just here to practice my pistol. I'm not really trying here. I'm not going to screw up your, and I would always tell them, hey, you can take my scores out. I don't care. I'm just here I didn't take it seriously. I was not a serious USPSA guy.
Many of the ideas you're espousing are very typical C-class misconceptions, which brings us back to why they're stuck in C-class, because they're not super active in the sport. And they're laboring under a lot of misconceptions that simply aren't true, but get parroted about until they become parodies, right? And
it's true.
It is true.
It is true. Yeah,
it is true. And if you are racing automobiles, you would not expect to go to a race once every 3 months, not collect data,
it would
expect to do well.
I mean, I initially approached 3-gun like that. I could never get into USPSA. I don't know why. One thing so I don't believe in muscle memory. You guys believe in muscle memory?
Okay, no, I got to argue with this guy. I don't want to shoot anything subconsciously. Muscle memory, yes. Subconsciously, no. He could not be more wrong if he tried.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Muscles don't have memory, man.
That gentleman is 100% wrong, and I'm very sorry. Hey, ask this guy to tell us very quickly. Does he use all 10 fingers to tie his shoes? And if so, what does that finger do? Because he doesn't know. He'll call it muscle memory. It's actually subconscious. He's using the wrong term.
Right.
Except the heart muscle. That's the only one that does, I believe.
Does it have a brain? Oh, it does, because when you get a heart transplant, you get people's memories.
Yeah.
So there is something going on there. Wow, you're smart. Jeez. Just sitting there knowing stuff.
Yeah, no, I really dislike the term muscle memory.
Well, so what that term actually means is the building of myelin in the brain. And please correct me if I use the wrong scientific term. Did I already do it?
No.
Okay, so your brain makes this substance called myelin. And what this gentleman is talking about is when you learn to ride a bicycle, right? It's the best example in the world. Your brain has to figure out how to do that. And once your brain figures out how to do that, this won't be correct, but it's how I understand it. It takes duct tape and wraps that spaghetti so that it stays. Yeah, I know, duct tape and spaghetti. You can give your version in a minute. So the brain has been activated, right? And noodles are doing stuff like they're pulsing and they're going different directions. right? And then myelin is this giant roll of duct tape that wraps these noodles together into larger groups of noodles, call it pasta clumps. And that's how you can ride a bike. It's duct tape around noodles and pasta clumps.
It's more of a thickening of the myelin sheath, but
yeah, that's what she said. What she said.
So it is really interesting, though. I think that I think there's a lot of really bad terminology used.
Well, so this guy that just said he doesn't want to shoot subconsciously, the guy that disagrees with him won the Olympics by shooting subconsciously.
Yeah. So one of the things that I remember I was talking, I was talking to, so one, and I don't remember who told me this, but I actually truly do this. I do not remember. I won't remember the side alignment or anything like that. And I don't actually try to I'm not like squinting. My brain knows what the proper side alignment is, what the, what the side light needs to be, or the amount of accuracy needed for the shot in front of me. And I just get out of its way and let it do it. Like I'm not trying to determine. Most of the time I don't even consciously decide to pull a trigger. It's just the shot needs to be made. We make it, move on.
That would be the right environment. If the conscious mind is going to do anything, it would be observed for acceptable accuracy. And ideally you'd be watching the gun go off, and the conscious mind, my conscious mind would go green, 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 yellow, red, oops.
Yeah,
green,
something
green,
like
green,
that.
green,
It's very
yellow,
simple.
red, oops. Yeah.
I don't use colors, but sure. Yeah. It's just like, how to do things. Right. And if you just get out of your, if you get you out of your own way, is the way I like to put it.
Actually need to get in your own way.
Get in your own way. All right.
You do. And here's why. Let's say you went to USPSA Nationals and it's your first time back and you're being filmed and you're nervous. You're first on stage one and you're nervous. And you go, oh, I had Anderson on. He's the mental game guy. I'm going to call him. And you call me and I go, hello, Steve Anderson's here. Hey, man, just get out of your own way. Click.
Well, that's an interesting.
Was that helpful? That was not helpful.
That's an interesting context. Yeah, I don't.
All of this dogma is not helpful because it's the wrong terminology, and people go around.
You guys are lagging a bit.
I think. Get more and more confused. Like there's a guy, mental game. Just do it. He's absolutely right. Just do it. But
you guys are lagging just a little bit. Just.
Have we broken the internet again? Are the girls doing
hello
things?
Hello.
Testing. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, outstanding.
It's weird. It's on YouTube. It looks perfect, but on here it's all right. We'll just keep talking, and it'll hopefully.
My enthusiasm has been known to cause houseplants to grow more aggressively.
Yeah.
And it's also when I get passionate, it's because I really want to help people. That's the main thing we have in common is we are here to help. And the only reason we get passionate is because we care. I have never met a coach that cares as much about their shooters as you do. And you've inspired me to care for mine even more than I do. So thank you for that. Probably because you're a mom.
Yeah.
I bring dad love, you bring mom love.
So I think a lot of the misconception, well, I don't know if it's a misconception, but I think another way to help look at subconscious skill is we're taking short-term memory things and moving them into our long-term memory so that you can call upon them as you need them.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard it explained like that before. Are those different places in the brain, like physically?
Yeah, it's in your hippocampus.
And is that where the noodles are with the duct tape? My hippo has.
You have neurons in your entire brain.
You just called me a moron. I'm trying to speak your language here. I have morons in my brain. Now I've got morons in my brain, in my hippo, wrapping spaghetti with duct tape.
Yeah, so there are things that you can do to move things from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. And the reason that stage where you fell is in your long-term memory is kind of like the detour where the road you would normally take is closed and now you have to switch to a paper map or something else. And that's the drive you're going to remember. That's in your long-term memory because something happened that you weren't expecting. So what I do in my classes is something I call, well, I didn't call it this. It's actually from research, but desirable difficulties. So I had one student where he was shooting, what is that one? TikTok? Yeah, the classifier.
I think, yes, there is one called
TikTok where there's a gun on a table. So
yes,
he wanted to shoot that at the next match, and he wanted to make GM. He was master class, and I said, okay, well, we're going to practice it. I'm going to show you quiet eye things, and then I moved the table a little bit so it was not straight, just a little bit crooked. So what do you think he did when he walked up to the stage? What's the first thing he did?
Move the table back.
He straightened the table, and then I moved it back again, and he's like, looks at me funny, moves it back again, and I move it back again. He goes, okay, what are you doing? I said, just shoot it. And he shot it really well, the best he'd ever done, got the GM score. And he was like, so what was with the table? And I said, do you remember what you did? And he was like, yeah, I saw this and this and this and this, because that triggered his long-term memory, because I was doing something that irritated the heck out of him.
Interesting.
So I would call that an occupation for the conscious mind, allowing access to subconscious skill in accordance with self-image.
And he did make GM.
Yeah, that's what I would call that. Like Brian Enos used to talk about the trick of the day. Brian Enos.
I love his book Zen and the Art of practical shooting beyond the basics, or something.
Beyond fundamentals. Now,
beyond the fundamentals. Thank you.
People don't know that book. You might not know this. That he did not write that book.
He didn't write it.
Hang on. That's why it's so hard to read. He sold a guy a briefcase full of notes and journals, and the guy compiled Brian Enos's notes and journals into that book. That's why it's so difficult to read. Yes, Brian wrote the content, but he is not super happy with the way the book is presented. He stands behind the content. I didn't know that either. He stands behind the content, but he did not lay it out like we lay out ours.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they thought he was on a trip.
I still enjoy the it's very zen. I still enjoy the book. I enjoy the audiobook better because I can just drive down the road and just kind of listen. But
so Brian Enos, my dry fire book, Refinement and Repetition, I need to refine and repeat that, has been the #1 selling item on Brian Enos's website for 10 years. I've been the #1 seller on Brian Enos's website.
That's good.
I'm very proud of that. That's like having Eddie Van Halen sell your guitar picks. That's kind of a big
there
deal.
you go.
There's the other one there.
There you
go. Sorry, I didn't punch with my tattoo. But yeah, so I'm really interested in using the right terminology because I get people to admit what you just said. Like, one of the guys out there says, just do it. Okay, that's fine. World Shoot Stage 1, you're going first. It's raining and you're freaking out. Just do it. It's not going to be helpful. You're going to get angry. Hey, can we talk about pressure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you experience pressure in racing?
I mean, I didn't. And I had to talk drivers off the edge several times
because of pressure.
Yeah. I actually I wouldn't say I enjoy pressure, but if you
may have enjoyed it. And I can tell you why. You may have loved it.
Yeah.
My best shooters, my Joey Sauerlands, my Jay Beals, my absolute, what's a high performing horse? Doesn't matter. My absolute thoroughbreds. Right. They love pressure. And Joey Sauerland has called me from 3 matches and said, I need you to ratchet up the pressure because I'm not shooting good. And here's why. The only thing pressure does in any environment is amplify what you are thinking and feeling. So if you are thinking scared and you are feeling scared, you get more of that. If you are confident in your skills, your knowledge of the track, your knowledge of the stage, pressure gives you more confidence. It's the difference between crumbling and excelling is amplifying what you are thinking and feeling.
There may be a lot of truth to that because
there's not a lot of truth. It's true. There's no degrees of truth. Sometimes it's true or it's not true. There's no degrees of truth.
So
sorry.
In my career, I was literally known as the person that just did not, and I was actually talking about it earlier today, where I was headed to Mid Ohio for a race weekend, and the truck blew up in Kansas at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Sounds like a blues song.
I got towed off did I tell you this?
No, it just sounds like a blues song.
Yeah. So I got towed off the highway. The tow truck driver had the same first name as me, and we got along great. And he's like, "Hey, if I put your truck and trailer in the lot, you won't be able to get it till Monday." And I said, "I can't have that happen." So he actually towed me to the truck stop. Crawled into the back seat at 2:00 in the morning. Went to sleep till I got up like 5:30. Started calling around trying to find people that had a truck. So my solution was not to sit there. It was just to solve the problem. That's under pressure. I completely resort to, I'm going to solve the problem. And I had a truck I'm not going to go through all the details, but I had a truck bought by 5:00. It was on its way. It showed up at 9 p.m. in Kansas. We literally rolled the blown up truck out from underneath it, backed the new truck up. The tow truck guy towed my truck, told the first truck to his lot the next morning, and we went on to Mid Ohio. And I don't stop.
Did you catch what he said about what pressure did?
I'm sorry?
I'm asking her if she caught what you said about what pressure did to you in that situation. It amplified your ability and your belief you could solve the problem.
Yeah.
You became invincible under pressure because you decided to be successful and you knew how to do it, because that's who you are and that's what you do. That's self-image. Self-image is who you are and what you do.
Yeah, and I was talking about this earlier. I have what I have always called supreme self-confidence. I will solve this. It's going to be okay. It doesn't matter how bad it gets. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if it's snowing. It doesn't matter if the truck blew up. It doesn't matter none of it matters. It's going to be okay. I'm going to figure it out.
Can we use the right term though, so that people can understand it?
Go ahead.
Supreme self-image is what you're referring to. That's the term. You see yourself as a guy that can do those things. Therefore, you are the guy that can do those things.
Yeah.
It's the third process of performance. You have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the self-image. And anytime self-image is strong, it will give you 100%. It'll give you access to your subconscious skill in accordance with your self-image level. What it can't do, and the reason that somebody is fiercely typing that self-image is BS, I'll get to you in a minute once you get done typing there, internet warrior. It can't give you access to skill that you don't have. There's no amount of confidence that can make me an excellent chainsaw carver because I don't have any skill. But if I have the skill and I'm afraid of the saw, I'm going to lose access to my skill. So we got to use the right terminology so people can understand it.
That's all true.
It would be like if we were discussing the human body, right? And I said, I don't know, what is this bone called?
Your elbow.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't like that term. I don't like that term. I'm going to call it my upper knee, right? It just doesn't work anymore. Yeah, I don't have an upper knee. I have an elbow. So I got to use the right terminology. Otherwise, the doctor thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Because they don't teach upper knee in medical school. At least I don't think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This one here is so smart. I had to go to the doctor recently for my third deep vein thrombosis. I almost died last week. And because she's my coach, she said, I can't be there at the doctor's office. However, I want you to call me when you get there. And this one is arguing with my doctor about my care and my treatment. It was awesome. That's how smart she is. Just to be around.
Just really quick, guys, for the people coming in, I know that the internet's a busy place tonight. And you guys are just kind of wandering in and out. But you are seeing Kita Busse. Is that right? Yeah. And Steve Anderson. Kita does movement coaching. Steve is about the mental game and mental fortitude and teaching you how to be a better person, which eventually resolves in you being a better shooter.
Actually, I teach them to be better shooters and better competitors.
Okay, that's better. Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
When two shooters are of similar skill, it is the better competitor that always wins, even if it comes down to their gear working and they don't have malfunctions, right? Mm-hmm. The better competitor will not have 16 malfunctions. right? That's not a
Yeah.
great competitor. Could be a great shooter, but that's not well-maintained gear. And being a great competitor means having well-maintained gear, right? You don't get to go over if your car doesn't start. You know, you got to bring a car that works.
Yeah.
You could be a great driver. Car's got to work.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting dynamic because in my, again, I have a varied history. So one of the things, because I've had, like, I remember I watched Brian Nelson win hard as hell one year. He actually, the is a freak thing, but somehow he bent the firing pin in his rifle. So he, on the clock, calm as could be, opens the rifle up, pulls the bolt out, looks at it. He can see that there's something wrong with the firing pin. I'm assuming at that point he didn't think it was bent. He probably thought it was just dirty or something. He whacks it on the side of the on dirt or whatever. He was down in a pit, and he whacks it on the side of the log or whatever it was. Reassembles the rifle, finishes out the stage, and he won that match.
Sure,
he won overall. He absolutely never even paused. He didn't hesitate. He didn't cry about it. He didn't get angry. He just
did what had to be done.
Just solved the
problem. Pressure amplified. He needed it. Now, I want to tell you something hilarious about that. A lot of these middle of the packers that have really bad attitudes and always whining and crying and complaining. I asked Lanny Bassam about that because I was curious what he'd say. I said, Lanny, what about these middle of the packers that are always crying and whining and complaining? He goes, I think that's the most immature thing I've ever heard. We are born as babies knowing how to cry. We get a dirty diaper, we cry. We get hungry, we cry. When are we going to learn to do something different? That's what babies do. Cry and complain. Oh, my diaper's dirty. I'm going to cry and complain. Okay. I'm just going to change my diaper and get back to work. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so I've never done coaching for shooting because I'm not qualified to do so, but I was a match director and I'd always have new shooters come up and they would talk about how, what gear should I buy? What, how much should I practice and whatever. And, there are various answers that you can give, but usually my normal recommendation, especially for a new shooter, is just get very comfortable with your gear, know it inside and out. Just grow into, because you can't start at one end and materialize at the other. There's a path to get there and you really can't shortcut it.
Well, hang on. What does that mean? What you just said, what does that mean? Well, there's a path over here and a place.
You have to put in the work.
A place.
Yeah, you got to put that work in.
There's start at the one end. There are shortcuts. There are.
But you can't like. I can't tell you how many people have said, well, what AR should I buy? What trigger is going to help me hit better? And I'm like, dude, go actually shoot 400-yard targets. And then we can start talking about all of this.
Well, there's one.
Go actually do it and then figure it out. And we'll come back.
There's one exception. The Walther steel frame is the shortcut to Grandmaster in 30 days or less, or your money back. The Walther steel frame. PDP.
Really?
I'm just joking. But it is a fantastic gun.
Is it? I almost bought was it a Q5 or something? The last competition pistol they had. Yeah, I almost bought one. I just didn't.
Those were okay, but the PDP steel frame is everything you love about your CZ, minus the light strikes and accidental discharges.
Hey, I don't have those.
I don't shoot CZs.
Do you break slide stops?
No.
And no, you're smart. You're too smart to AD. And no, well, you're going to stock.
But I run stock. Yeah.
That's why it works. Okay.
Yeah. I don't shoot. I only own two CZs. I own a P10C carry gun, and I own a P09 that's been Cajunized that actually belonged to Brian Nelson that he won. Whatever, not limited, but I don't know. He won some. I guess what's the one that? What's the 10-round one? That's production. He won production with that.
So production is now 15 rounds, which is pretty cool. But you're not going to find. I don't think you're going to find two shooting coaches on the planet who care less about what kind of gun you shoot than Keita and I. We just
I don't really care either.
Unless it doesn't work.
It's an assortment. It has an assortment. I have an assortment, and I used to. I still do. I will just shoot a gun because I like to shoot that gun, and I don't think it has any bearing of performance.
It actually does.
Does it?
It's just like guitars. Hey, I just got this new guitar and I'm playing it so much better because I can't put it down. Why?
Right. Yeah, because you're practicing with it. Yeah, you're using it every day. Yeah, you're very good.
You know, same thing with the Ace. Nobody needs an Ace VR. Nobody. Your gun and your timer is superior to an Ace VR. However, if it's getting you to do reps that you wouldn't be doing because you think dry fire is boring, then it's fantastic. And I just became aware of my first. What do you think about the term training scar? Do you like that term?
I've never used it.
Okay. I don't love that term training scar, but I just ran into my first client for whom they got so used to the different trigger of the Ace that it caused a big problem. Oh, can I please answer that question?
Absolutely. That's why I put it up.
Absolutely realign your self-image to be more successful. You absolutely can, but you're not going to like it. The only solution to realigning self-image is positive or productive imprints, and you can see it in Talladega Nights. Right? Will Ferrell's dad made him have a positive association with driving that car. So you got to change your negative association into a positive association. And that means, and this is the part you're not going to like, consciously choosing to get a positive imprint out of everything that you do. And it's a hard habit to start, and people hate it, and you're probably going to disagree with me.
And reinforcing it.
Reinforcing it, repeating it. You're going to have to write in your journal. Today, my draws were on fire. Every shot was successful. I used the key to Busse quad eye technique, look at a small spot on the target, and my red dot went exactly where it was supposed to go every single time. Those ideas are the ammunition that you put in your ammo box that come out of your gun when you shoot it. I'm not saying to lie to yourself because that won't work. But all you have to do is find reasons to celebrate how good you are. That's all you got to do.
I can agree with that. I think that positive reinforcement generically works. An argument could be made. I don't know how good it would be, but an argument could be made that positive reinforcement is can lead to self-delusion.
Nope, nothing of the sort. I'll give you an example. So I'm not saying ignore your problems. I'm saying state and reinforce the solution. Yes, you must address the problem. But if I'm jerking the trigger, I jerked the trigger, let's go to the match. I'm going to jerk the trigger.
Yeah.
But if I jerk the trigger and go, pull the trigger this way, and I reinforce, pull the trigger this way, that idea goes to the match.
It's interesting.
I'm not a sports therapist. I'm not a sports psychologist.
So it's very interesting that you talk about the trigger because, like I feel like with some guns, like the 2011, the SIG P320, the Smith & Wesson M&P, I shoot those guns pretty well. There's something about the Glock that I slap that trigger like it was somebody else's ex-girlfriend. I cannot not slap the trigger in a Glock.
What do you think about the Glock trigger specifically?
I don't personally care for it, but it doesn't really matter a whole lot to me.
So I know why Glocks are particularly hard to shoot straight, and that's because people want to wall whack them.
Yeah, I have a tendency to just slap that trigger. I don't know what it is.
Well, it feels good to slap the trigger because those triggers are nice and spongy, and it feels good to wall whack.
That's probably true.
You get to the wall and you whack it, and then the grip angle probably, maybe not. I don't know. The grip angle may affect this to some degree. I'm not sure about that because I haven't studied it. But Glocks are hard to shoot straight because of the wall. It's got this giant wall of Austrian crunchy peanut butter, and when you get to it, it's really hard and crunchy, and you want to whack it. And then the shot goes low left, and you want to aim more, and the more you aim, the harder you hit the trigger, et cetera, ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize there are more walls after that initial wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I put down the 2011 for a while, and I shot the M&P VTAC, the first generation one, not the cool new one, the old one. And I was actually shocked at how accurate I was with it because of the sights are totally different. I really thought that it would be a harder transition to go from, my, dang near 8-pound, all metal, ridiculously accurate 2011 to this, this piece of plastic. But it didn't actually, mentally, it just didn't, it wasn't any different once I was on doing what I needed to be doing. It was no difference.
When you think about, so we operate in a sport where the most common problem that a good shooter is going to have is firing a shot without an acceptable sight picture. In competition, it's the biggest problem. So why are we talking about mechanical accuracy? It's dumb, right? Mechanical accuracy means the bullet goes where the sights are.
But to your point, they're different sights. They're different. But
well, do you think it's possible that because it was so different, it forced you?
I think I may have purposefully slowed down a little bit to make sure that I got that sight acquisition. I can't remember, but I remember. I know that I was shocked at how accurate I was with it.
Well, that's awesome. Hey, when you're driving a car, is slowing down ever a good idea outside of braking?
No, slow is slow. Have you ever heard this in racing? Slow in, slow out, or slow in, fast out, or a fast in, no out.
And would you say that's
a lie? Yeah. Slow is just slow.
Would you say in racing you're always driving the car as fast as conditions allow?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to win.
Oh, shooting is exactly the same way, 100%. If you're slowing down, it's dumb. And if you're driving too fast for conditions, it's also dumb. So let's let go of the conscious control of speed. Let's just let go.
Let's move away from some of the mechanical stuff. Let's talk about stage planning. Let's talk about the mental aspect of targets that you're not used to.
Yes, I love
angles you're not used to. All of that kind of stuff. Let's talk about that.
I'm gonna get some water. You're on stage.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Talk to me.
Okay, so what do you typically do when you're stage planning? Do you have
a
routine, or do you just?
I think most people that I see in USPSA, they line up, they basically imitate the guys in front of them, guys or girls in front of them, and they're all like wandering around. I lied. I shot a USPSA match with my son and a friend of ours in Alabama, maybe a year ago, maybe 9 months ago or whatever. It's the first USPSA match I shot in a long time. I didn't take it very seriously. But there was this one spot where everybody was shooting it the way the first guy walked it, on my squad anyway.
Okay.
And I saw that there was, and the reason for that is because two of the targets were long.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to stop there anyway to lean out around this barrier. And so I shot both of those targets and the lean around target and another target all from that position and then moved. I eliminated two positions. I came out pretty good on that stage. I wasn't the fastest, but and my hits were good. But it was like, because the first guy that walked it didn't want to shoot over 15 yards, nobody shot over 15 yards. And it was just they just followed each other like lemmings through the stage.
Oh, were the targets only from a lean?
No, so it was if you can pick, so you started in a box, you entered the shooting area, it's about a step and a half into the shooting area. There were targets on the left behind a wall, targets on the right behind a wall. You had to lean to get the targets. There were two targets behind this wall that you had to lean for. And then if you just stood where you were, there were two targets down that they were kind of behind a wall. When you went through when you stayed in the shooting area, there was a place that you could shoot it closer, but you had to stop.
Okay, so what you're describing is something I see all the time, and walls get in people's heads. So it sort of creates a barrier inside of your brain where you can't see your options available to you. And once you see it a certain way, your brain can't see it any other way. which is why I tell people plan your reload last, plan your stage as though you have unlimited ammunition so you can find how your body moves through it the most efficiently, then figure out where your reloads go last. That being said, in that particular situation, if you can shoot the targets closer, it's almost always faster and more accurate to shoot them closer. You're going to be able to guarantee your hits a little bit better. You okay?
I'm fine.
And
I quit smoking Friday.
I got you. I got you.
So that's the nicotine pouch, and I have my toothpick here.
Yeah, you're all good, man. Yeah, I don't like to stop on course very much. I want to be constantly in a state of motion.
yeah, so that's the other thing that could be an issue with that. I didn't see the stage, obviously, but the more
I mean, you did have to stop. I mean, I said you did there. You had to lean around that wall, and
Right.
you had to stop there. And there was a couple of places where, they would have a target, like you've seen a target here, and then a wall, and then another target on the other side of the wall. So you can take the one coming into the position, but you have to stop and lean to get that one target. So I mean, it was a well-designed stage. I mean, it was a well-designed stage, and I just think that I eliminated 2 positions by simply taking the longer shot, since I was already stopped. I wasn't, if I'd had to stop and shoot, I wouldn't have done it. But I was already stopped, and it was just as simple as 1, 2, do the lean, 1, 2, 1, 2, straighten up, bang, bang, and move. So.
Well, there are times where the more targets you're taking from a single position, the more your energy pools, especially if you are at a dead stop. It can actually take less time to add more positions because your energy pools into that stop.
That's why the sweet spot is sometimes not awesome.
The sweet spot is not always awesome.
I hadn't considered the energy pool. You're like a statue.
That's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic. I'll have to think on that.
It's usually better to split the targets up between positions than shoot them all from one spot. Yeah. I actually did very well on a stage in, where was I? Australia, I think. No, South Africa. We had a stage where there was one sweet spot way in the back, and then there were a whole bunch of ports, and you could either shoot them all at like these weird, awkward angles, leaning around, or you could run up to the ports, and the targets are right there. I ran to every single port, and all these other shooters are standing in the back, making it more awkward, and their energy is all stuck in one spot.
That's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive. I also built a stage at my class in Texas where I kind of messed with their heads a little bit. So I built a shooting box and then a long stage. So you had to shoot some targets within that shooting box, and I told them they could start anywhere they wanted. And if they got into the stage, there was one sweet spot where they didn't have to move anywhere else, but you kind of have to lean around a little bit. And I had recently been shot in the ankle, so I had a boot on and I was limping.
You were shot in the ankle?
Yes. And I outshot my students just because I went to all the places.
Now, we have to. You got shot in your ankle?
Yeah, it was a ricochet.
Oh,
full diameter ricochet, not a frag, right?
Yeah, it was a skip.
Yeah.
Skip.
Okay, so not a lot of cutting then. Just okay, gotcha. Okay.
And she finished the stage and the match, right?
I finished the match. That was really stupid, by the way, but I did.
That's awesome. That's actually awesome.
She showed me the video, and she gets shot in the ankle. And a good RO, maybe not in this case, but a good RO, typically the competitor will look at them and they'll just hold the timer up. And you actually yelled, "I got shot," right?
Yeah,
and the RO
3 times.
Never said a word.
Yeah, I said 3 times, "I got shot. I got shot." Well, it happened, and I just went, "Ouch." And I said, "I got shot." And the RO didn't stop me, so I kept going because I didn't know what happened or how bad it was. So if I threw that stage and realized it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, I didn't want to throw that stage and not finish the match. So.
That's actually hardcore. So I am even more stupid than that. Not that was stupid.
It was
It's very
stupid.
brave of
It
you.
was
However,
so stupid. I should have just stopped.
so we want to talk. So I'm going to give you my best movement story that I have, because I have a lot of stories where I just hurt myself really badly. But I was shooting at Rock Castle, and I don't know if you guys have ever shot there, but I was shooting at Rock Castle, and I think it was the Rock Hard, which is like Hard as Hell, and it was the second in the series of Hard as Hell. And I was shooting pistol, and I'm not really sure what happened. I performed the reload, and I have since gotten to where I do the wick flip, and I send my mags 8 or 9 feet away from me. But I dropped the mag, I put the new mag in. I have to set this. So I'm on a Cowboy Town. You guys have shot out of those before, the wooden sidewalks and the things. So I'm shooting in a Cowboy Town. The stage is set up so that you go through Cowboy Town shooting the circus targets, carrying a double rifle bag with your rifle and shotgun in it and about 30 pounds of ammo. So this thing weighs like 50, 60 pounds. And you're moving and shooting the whole time, going from port to port, shooting Texas Star, Spinner, all of the circus targets. And then you get to there's a building that you have to run into, put the bag on the table, take out your rifle, and then engage some long range steel, come back into that building and shoot a bunch of paper, and then dump the rifle and take the shotgun and run out of the building, go up over a wall or an A-frame wall, go up the wall, down the wall, and then engage shotgun targets with slugs and birdshot. So, and I have a great picture of what happened at the end of this. So I eject the magazine, perform the reload, and I go to launch from that window to the next window, and I'm on my face.
You fall down a lot, don't you?
I do.
You're like a motorcycle. You want to be on your side.
You have to understand how difficult those matches are, physically challenging.
Sure.
I launched out of position, and all I remember, I never did figure out what caused me to fall, except that one of my squad watching me says he thinks that my mag got under my foot, and when I went to launch out,
I've seen that happen.
Sure.
Kicked the mag out, and I went down. Now I have a hot pistol, right? Yeah. I fall on my face. Your eye pro comes off, ear pro comes out. I get the eye pro back on. I have no idea where my ear pro is. I get the bag kind of back on me, and I just keep shooting.
No.
And I don't know this at the time, but I'm bleeding.
Did you rupture your eardrum?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
We'll get to that. I get done with pistol, throw the pistol in a box. I performed the IPSC, safe of the pistol where you rack the round out, pull the trigger, and dump it in the box. That's like that's my default. And I go into the barn. I get the rifle out. As I come out, as I'm bringing the rifle up to engage the first long range target, I look at the RO and I say, I don't have ear pro, but I'm not stopping. Like, he hasn't said stop, and I'm not stopping. So he takes his ear pro off, puts it on my ears, does this, and I engage. I hit all of the steel, came back in, hit all of the paper. I get into the last rifle position. I realize that I'm bleeding so much from my nose and mouth that it's getting on the rifle. So the drill became, I would shoot, spit blood, move to the next position, shoot, spit blood, move to the next position, got rid of the rifle, picked up the shotgun, and I finished out. As soon as I finished the stage, literally I turn around and a guy shoves a wad of gauze right on my face. And I have pictures of the rifle with the blood all over it and everything. It was crazy.
But
I didn't stop.
For all of you listeners, if you lose your eye pro, ear pro, or get shot, please just stop yourself.
I don't know about getting shot because that may not be contemplated in the rule book, but in USPSA, you are allowed to stop yourself if you lose your iPro or your AirPro. And I don't know if you get a reshoot.
You get a reshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just one of those things where I'm in it to win it, and I'm just going. Like I've started, I'm not stopping. And then I don't know if you know Ben Brown, but he's a paramedic or fire guy in his real life. He comes over and he looks at me like 4 times. He's like, do you feel like you have a concussion? I'm like, no. Comes to me about a little while later. Do you feel like you're concussed? I'm like, no. I couldn't hit a shotgun slug target the rest of the day. Like I was all discombobulated.
When Keita gets back, I ask her how many concussions she's had. The numbers between 4 and 6. I'm not real sure.
Wow.
It's up there.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was concussed.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I've only had 1 concussion. I got into an argument with a guy over David Lee Roth versus Sammy Hagar, and I drank.
You're a guitar guy, I can tell.
Sorry?
You're a guitar guy, I can tell.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can go to my YouTube channel, Anderson Shooting, and you can hear songs that I've done recently.
Nice.
I love it. And if Dad Rock still paid, I probably wouldn't be on this program right now.
I'm not familiar with Dad Rock.
Well, so Metallica is actually Granddad Rock at this point, but think about like Van Halen, that's Dad Rock. It's not relevant to today's kids. But yeah, I mean, shooting came to me as an extension of playing guitar because I was never a gun guy. We didn't have guns growing up. My parents were Christian music teachers. We weren't anti-gun, we were non-gun. And so after I got robbed in a record store I was managing, a guy stuck a K-bar in my knife. A K-bar in my face. The prosecutor told me I should probably get a gun, and I did. And I treated it like an instrument from day one. It was never a weapon. It was an instrument.
Yeah, I have kind of a strange view about guns. They are literally tools, but they're artwork as well.
Oh yeah, like a Beretta 92 is art the same way a 57 Chevy or a Fender Stratocaster. It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful lines.
Pardon me.
No problem.
I love my 2011s. I used to hate them. I'm one of those guys that I'll have like not a preconception, but I just don't like the aesthetic. And then I will see one that I really like, and then from that point forward, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the very thing that I want.
Well, a 1911 9mm is probably the easiest handgun on the planet to shoot straight.
Oh yeah,
they're a joy to shoot. They're easy to shoot. The trigger goes straight back to the rear. Once you disable the grip safety, they're fantastic. Yeah.
All of mine have the grip safety, but that's only because, again, I shoot 3-gun, and
yeah, I mean, if your sport requires it, but
they don't require it. But if you abandon so you don't abandon firearms in USPSA. If I abandon a firearm, technically it's unsafe with the grip safety.
Oh, good Lord. So you don't have to activate the thumb safety.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the thumb safety will you'll hit the bucket or something, and it'll just the safety will come off. But and people in the old days, they used to DQ you for that.
What about a Glock or a Walther with no?
Yeah, you just throw it in a bucket. Safety. Just throw it in a bucket. I am a pro at the rifle toss. Like cool. I can spear a bucket from far away with my rifle.
Yeah, I have done a lot of work with pistol shooters and 3-gun because, as Keita said,
it's the determining factor a lot.
Usually the Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. And pistol shooting is it's the easiest to retrograde. It's the easiest to, or diminish, however you want to say it. It's such a perishable skill.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, yeah. it maybe.
Maybe.
So subconscious skills are not perishable. They do degrade over time, but I've been playing the guitar since I was 12 years old. So I've been playing the guitar for 40 years. Mm-hmm. I would have to stop playing guitar for at least 40 years. And even then, I'd still have some subconscious skill. Yeah. If it took you a long time to learn, it's going to take you a long time to forget it, put it that way. Now, the mistake people make is they move the skill from the subconscious to the conscious, and then the conscious mind has to relearn the skill because your conscious mind doesn't know how to do anything. Right?
That's true.
It knows how to do it conceptually, but it doesn't know how to do it. So activating the conscious mind is like taking the coach and putting the coach in the game. The coach knows the thing, but the coach doesn't do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious does the thing. And when athletes get low on confidence, they put the coach in the game. And he's wearing a business suit and penny loafers. He doesn't do that great. He knows the sport, but he doesn't do the sport. He has the knowledge, but he doesn't have the skill.
Well, that kind of goes back to what you were asking earlier about, you know, how often do you practice and that kind of thing. I had I did never actually finish. I just got distracted and kind of went all squirrel there for a minute. But when I'm actively competing, I want to shoot 200 rounds of pistol a day. I dry fire for about an hour a day.
That's good.
And I dry fire. I will just walk through the house and I will literally dry fire at light switches. You know, just anything kind of small. I don't have. I think I have some somewhere, but I don't have dry fire targets posted all around the house or anything like that. And so it's. I mean, I guess everybody's different, but I'm actually a huge believer in dry fire and even like airsoft, you know, anything that gets you to engage with the processes and the motor movements and all of it. Anything gets you to engage with that, I think, is productive.
What's a motor movement? Is that a term?
I mean, like a gross motor movement where you're.
There are gross motor skills and fine motor skills. So a gross motor skill uses larger muscles. A fine motor skill uses smaller ones. Like this, pulling the trigger is a fine motor skill.
Mm-hmm.
Grabbing your gun out of the barrel or dropping it into the barrel is a gross motor skill.
Okay. I like to know what things mean. So when I talk about
sure. Yeah.
With, you know, communicating correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that because a lot of times people talk past each other. They're saying the same thing. They're just saying it in a different way.
Oh, we argue all the time about words.
I think we did that at the very beginning of the show. I think we meant the same thing, but said it
absolutely
different ways.
Because she did this kind of the same thing Lainey Basham did. She discovered mental management primarily as a mother. And mothers know to care. I believe a mother would call it self-esteem. I call it self-image, and they're not too different. Self-esteem is more how about you feel about yourself emotionally. Like I have days where I don't particularly like myself, but I'm still a fantastic coach. So my self-esteem, and this, you know, same thing would go for you, right? You could have a low self-esteem day, but still know you're the best movement coach on the planet. Your self-image is fine. You just don't particularly like yourself some days because you might have done something dumb. You might have stepped in it or, you know, made a bad joke for the second day in a row. I don't know. Self-esteem could be down. Self-image could be up.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Well, I mean, think about how many great athletes and performers hate themselves. Like, think about how many brilliant actors hate themselves. Right? They know they're great actors. Robin Williams would be a great example. That man hated himself. He knew he was a great actor and a gifted performer, but for some reason he hated the skin he was in. That would be self-esteem. You know, I just came out of my third divorce. I didn't like myself very much at all. But then
divorce. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Dude, no, it's the best thing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Are you kidding me? I got rid of a narcissist gold digger. I'm living the dream. I entertain this. I get to keep the money that I earn and do whatever I want to with it.
There you go.
Is that?
That's
it sucks for a while. It really sucks to be rejected by a human being that promised to love you forever until the day you die, because that means something. That hurts. But then you wake up one day and you go from having to reinvent yourself to getting to reinvent yourself. I'm making houseplants grow, bro. I'm living my best life right now.
That's
I
awesome.
almost died on Friday. I can't get enough life. I only sleep 4 hours.
We got to talk about that in a minute too. I'm going to show you the picture of my rifle here in just a second. It took me a minute to find it, but
let me show you a bloody gun.
I say I am, but maybe it's why won't it do that? There we go. There we go. You can see the blood here. Let me do this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a good day. I lived.
I've had blood on every gun I've ever owned. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yep. It just happens.
Yeah.
Just another day in the office.
Yep.
Another day in the office. That's right. Yeah, that was interest. That was an interesting deal, and I ended up. I do believe that I did have a concussion. I just never really cared that I did. So,
Keita said so many she can self-diagnose them and determine whether she needs medical care or not.
That's awesome.
She got in a car accident recently, and she goes, "Yeah, I had another concussion, but it's not a bad one. I'll just sleep it off."
Yeah,
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
I stayed awake as long as I needed to.
Not right away.
So that's actually interesting you say that, Keto, because when that was how I kind of figured I did have a concussion, is because I went back to the hotel and I never sleep during the day. And I had my son and my dog with me, and I laid down. I laid down. I was going to read, and then we were going to go meet up with some people and have dinner and stuff. I passed out for like 4 hours, and I'm like, maybe I was
unusual for you.
Maybe I was concussed.
Tell the guy that dry firing is in no way bad for the vast majority of center fire pistols.
Right.
Many, if not most, rim fire pistols will be damaged with dry fire, but a center fire pistol, the vast majority, correct me if you know of one. No, a Springfield XD, if anybody's shooting that dinosaur.
I have one. I have an XDM.
That was my first gun.
I actually won my only national title with a Springfield XD, but they have a roll pin on the top of the slide that will break with drive, and it probably would break the same amount of live fire. I assume it would, but those things break.
They break as often as CZ slide stops.
Well, in South Africa they have to get like black market CZ slide stops. So one of the main reasons they break so much in South Africa is they're not getting good ones; they're getting cheap ones. But they do break.
It is a wear part.
Yeah, and this is what you call it. Like you don't expect
the other part's the ejector or something, right? That breaks on the CZs. That's why everybody carries two CZs.
I shoot Walthers and they work, so I'm not aware of other guns.
Yeah, I haven't had an issue with that.
Her gun is mostly stock, though, right?
Yeah.
So any firearm, the further you take it from stock, the more trouble you're going to have. Glock is the worst, right? A stock Glock 19 will run forever.
Yeah, I can't eat. Like I shock myself with how many Glocks I have. But I guess there are reasons for it.
They're fantastic tools.
Well, they make, that.
They're not pretty. You don't really form a relationship with your Glock.
Yeah. Right? It's a perfect drop gun.
The Glock is the ride it hard and put it away wet because you just don't care.
Yeah. I've come to I really want to like the SIG. I started with a 320 X carry and I liked it. It's a great carry gun. It's accurate. It's easy to draw from concealment. It's a great carry gun. And full disclosure, I prefer if I'm concealed or open carry, I prefer full size pistols most of the time. You're
going to shoot it better as long as you can carry it.
Yeah.
Carry guns are all about compromise.
Yeah. So I do. So I carry. I carry a full size 1911, or I have a commander length 2011 that I built with an aluminum frame, and I'll carry it. But there's some, but it's a toolbox. You just take out the tool you want to carry for the day.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
As long as you drive it a few times before you leave the house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like a dressing table, but for men. And so.
And don't get her started on gender equality.
And so we have I started with the X carry, then I got just a regular 320. It shot like crap. I hated the trigger. I hated everything about it. So I modified it to the point where it is an X5. There's nothing left of the original 320. I have the tungsten frame. I have the X5 slide. I have the X5 barrel. I have the trigger. I have Armory Craft trigger in it.
Is it a straight trigger or a curved trigger?
I now have a straight trigger in it.
So scientifically, do we do that because the lever creates a lighter trigger pull? Is that why we do that?
I don't think it matters.
I don't either. So
I like the feel of it. Between a curved and a flat trigger, I prefer the feel of a flat trigger.
So the issue I have with flat triggers, so I've never shot them. It's very, it's difficult for me to get my finger in the exact same place on a flat trigger. So I prefer a curved trigger.
I also prefer curved.
And my theory is that there is no scientific reason. That's why I asked you for a fulcrum trigger. I call that a fulcrum trigger. Is that the right term? Yeah. So on a fulcrum trigger, I just don't get it. I think it's marketing. I think it's just because gun people would rather buy things than do things. And hey, look at this cool straight trigger. Oh, that looks fast. I'll take it.
Yeah, I have curved. I tried curved and straight. Curved are fine. I prefer the feel of the flat trigger, and it's simple preference. There's no
works,
no science behind it at all.
Yeah.
With ARs, I have proven to myself that I am faster with a flat trigger.
So that's self-image, by the way. Just so you know.
that doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't be just as fast with a curved trigger.
No, but it means when you have that trigger, you believe you can shoot it well. Sure. And so in that environment, you get access to your skill.
Yeah. And so I've done everything to this X5 that can be done, and it's still, it's okay to shoot. It's not my favorite. I want it to be my favorite gun, but it's just not.
A lot of times they don't like to go in a battery. I could actually, before I discovered the superiority of the Walther, I would frequently run my SIG out of battery, just a tiny little bit out of battery, because I like a light recoil spring. So it doesn't close the slide all the way.
Yeah.
The other weird thing those guns do, and I don't know if they all do it, but when you pull the trigger on a SIG 320, most of them, the slide actually goes bloop bloop, and the slide actually moves up and down. It's kind of
so without a magazine in it, they will all do that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm sure it doesn't affect anything. It's just it's just like the
well, it affects the trigger pull though. If you were dry firing without a magazine in it,
sure.
If you dry fire without a magazine in it, it affects the trigger pull becomes very inconsistent. And so I noticed that when I was dry firing without a mag in it, in the interest of safety, I noticed that the trigger pull is really inconsistent. And I actually asked Brian about it. I'm like, hey, have you noticed this on the SIG? And he's like, yeah, it's because you don't have a mag in it. Put a mag in it.
Yeah, sure. So another funny thing, when I worked at the gun store, there's two hilarious things that happened. This guy brought in this Taurus PT 111, which was selling for $219. So it's a really great gun for $219. But he had the slide lock back, and of course the barrel was tilted up. And he goes, "Yo, man, how's this going to be accurate? The barrel up like that." And then my standard move whenever we'd sell a Glock, because this particular store had an indoor range, and they'd buy the Glock and they'd come back and they'd go, "Hey, can you adjust these sights for me?" And I'd say, "Let me guess, low and left because you're right-handed." And he's like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I said, "Well, they do that sometimes when they're new." So I'd take it in the back room. I would knock my fist on the desk really loud. All right. And then I'd hand him the gun back and I'd say, "Okay, I've adjusted your sights. Take it easy with the trigger till the sights get broken in." And they'd be like, "Thanks, man. That really helped." So there's the Glock, you know.
I try to like Glocks. I've put so much money into Glocks, and I'm tired. I don't do it anymore.
Hey, can we talk about the two biggest problems in practical shooting?
Sure.
Everybody.
You didn't get it.
Oh, what do you mean?
I said us.
Oh, we're the two biggest problems.
Yeah.
Some people think so. So
I was waiting for the follow-up, but it didn't land.
I thought she thought I was excluded from the conversation. I apologize. So the two biggest problems in a sport. The conscious control of speed and competition is the biggest problem in the sport. Second biggest problem is negative inference during training. And those are the tattoos of the middle of the pack. Speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. And then training, I suck, I can't, I'm slow, I'm bad. Right? So we're speeding up, we're slowing down. By definition, we're not getting access to subconscious skill. And then we're damaging self-image in many cases irreparably with negative inference during training.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I can see that. I would have said the lackadaisical attitude towards actual practice of any kind, dry fire, live fire, whatever.
Yeah, but see, the middle of the pack's not doing that.
Mm.
Right? I'm talking about the middle of any classification. Like your guy that can get out of C class, he's practicing. But everything he's saying to himself in training, those thoughts are going with him to the match. So when he feels slow, when he feels sloppy, when he can't do this, when he can't do that, he can't do it 2 times in a row. He's got a fast one with bad hits. He's got an accurate one with slow. All of those ideas go to the match, right? And then he doesn't perform well because he's not getting access to any skill. He would actually be better off not practicing than practicing with negative imprints. And these are counterintuitive ideas. And I think, would you agree that to get to the top of anything requires some counterintuitive thinking?
Probably, yeah.
To grow ears on the backs of mice? Is that counterintuitive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting analogy.
Well, she actually did that. And then when the ears came out fuzzy and it was not attractive, being a woman, she thinks, well, nobody wants hairy ears. So now they're working on how to make the ears less hairy. And this one says, well, why don't we just use hairless mice?
There you go.
While NASA's designing pens that work in space, she shows up with a pencil. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Counterintuitive.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, so it's funny. You wanted to talk about the mental game a little bit.
Sorry?
You wanted to talk about the mental game a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I find it interesting. I mean, I'm always as I said earlier, I'm always interested in how other people break down the stages, especially, I guess with you guys, it's talking about the way this all kind of works, right? Where we have, or in your case, you guys have such a day-to-day experience with teaching people in a very specific competition, right?
We have this stuff figured out.
Yeah.
Like,
and so
you don't need to understand the mental game. You need to believe me when I explain it. You don't need to reverse engineer movement. All you have to do is do what she tells you to do, and you're going to save years and years of struggle. We struggled for years, right? Learn from our struggle. Don't go do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I really, of course I read a lot. I listen to people talk. I engage in conversations. And I will try things just to try them because I want to know.
You might be a stove toucher.
I probably am.
You might be. A lot of people are.
I see people doing that a lot when they get to the very top and they're looking for that 10th of a second here, 10th of a second there. They start doing things that just seem kind of weird, and sometimes they find something.
Well, let me relate it back to racing, right? So I saw no reason why we should not run up front. Like yes, we did not spend the same money as everybody else. No, we didn't, we didn't show up we did for a while, but we stopped showing up in the big semis. We didn't make it a fashion show. We showed up to kick everybody's ass. And that's exactly what we did.
That's self-image.
And one of the things is, like, I was always messing with that car, and I recorded everything.
You're a tinkerer.
And so, like, I would read the rule book, and then anywhere there was gray, that's where I lived. Like, for example, we weren't heavy. The car wasn't heavy, but we were not down to min weight. So I built an aluminum exhaust for the car. The back half of the exhaust was all aluminum. I actually welded an aluminum muffler together.
Nice.
I had to replace it every third race because aluminum is not a good material to do that with. But it was worth it because it showed up in lap time. Like, I didn't care about anything else. It shows up in lap time. It shows up in splits. It shows up in wherever we could measure it. If it showed up, that's what we did.
Yeah, Lotus said if the car still works when the race is over, it's too heavy.
Right. That's right. He did say that. Colin Chapman.
Yeah,
He did say that. Yeah. Colin Chapman did.
Let's make the car out of wood if it's going to be lighter.
He did. Well, he almost did.
Caterham, I think, is related to Lotus, and Caterham does make a wooden car.
Yeah, so Caterham is a replica of Lotus, and the earliest Lotus 7s did use a wooden chassis, just like the Morgans.
The Morgans,
yeah. I think only like 2 or 3 of the Lotus 7s used a wooden chassis. Most of them immediately broke, and they went to steel. The Lotus Elan chassis actually weighs 75 pounds.
Nice. I almost died in an Elise in Colorado many years ago.
Oh, Elise? Yeah, I like Elises.
I learned a couple of things. I learned that it's impossible to look cool getting out of it. Because when you're in a Lotus, you want to look cool. I actually split my jeans down the back getting out of the thing because the door sill is so high. And I also learned that the car will turn. So you're better off turning than you are braking, because Lotus stands for lift off throttle, you spin. And I knew that.
And a lot of things, it's very interesting you say that, because so I was it's in 2002. Yeah, 2002. I was working with a guy. He had a Viper RT. It was a good car. It wasn't a great car. It was a good car. But one of the most impressive things about it is when I went out to drive it, because I couldn't believe his data. It just didn't make sense. It was just different. I went out and drove the car, and to turn the car, or to, you would go into the turn. The front tires were so wide, and it had so much scrub radius that all you had to do to slow the car down was turn the front wheels.
Cool.
Like, that's it. You barely had to touch the brakes.
And what is scrub radius?
It was like throwing out an anchor. Sorry?
What is scrub radius?
So if you think about the way a car travels through a turn,
sure.
Scrub radius is the angle at which that happens with one tire is scrubbing behind the other.
Oh, I see. The relationship of the 2 tires. Got it.
Right. And there is such a thing as a 0 scrub radius front suspension, but only a few cars have that.
Is that desirable?
Yes. Okay. You will be very fast.
Cool.
But very few cars have that factory, and anyway. But it was.
Is that why a car with 4-wheel steering is desirable? Because it reduces scrub radius?
It does reduce the scrub radius. But it's not desirable because it makes the car very twitchy unless you really have something. It has to be done exactly right, or you will.
I just know. I think it's Porsche that does that on a couple of cars. I thought that was interesting.
Porsche did all-wheel steering on the parasitic car 959s, but it was the only one, and it never made it into production or anything. Mitsubishi used all-wheel steering on the 3000 GT VR4s, and Honda used all-wheel steering in theory on the Preludes, and Nissan used all-wheel steering on the with the super high-cast Nissan R33 and R34 Skyline GTRs. I got a lot of weird knowledge balancing around up there.
I do the same thing with rock and roll trivia. It's just useless.
It's a lot of odd information.
Like Dexy's Midnight Runners, the song "Come On Eileen," right? "Come On Eileen," such a great song. Well, Dexy's Midnight Runners is slang for truck drivers that took Dexatrim, and they were known as an upper, so they were known as Dexy's Midnight Runners. Hence the band name. Very cool band name. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. You know about Dexatrim?
No.
They're like a 70s diet pill. Dexahydrine something, probably.
Yeah. That's true. It was a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago. What a great song, though. Come on, Eileen. Yeah, you're hurting my spleen. Nobody knows the lyrics, but it's a great song.
Robert Demita, I don't think they're Adderall, but it's not far. Not far from it. Yeah, it's so I relate most things to racing in some way because it's what I lived and breathed for so long, and I relate all things competitive to racing because I can always find the parallels.
So
my biggest problem with like competitive shooting is that even with video, it's very hard to actually have like actual data on what you're doing.
But it's not.
Okay.
Please continue.
I want to hear this.
That's for you.
It's going to be good.
No, it's going to be great.
I love it. I actually, look, I'm being serious. I really enjoy learning things I don't know.
People need to know what she knows. The shooting community does not know how smart she is. And because she's not into self-promotion, it's my job to let them know how smart she is.
There you go.
Now she will demonstrate.
So I do video reviews.
Uh-huh.
So I'll slow them down, voice them over. I can find the most minute little details. I can even overlay one person shooting on another if they're looking to compare themselves. If they want to beat a certain person or something like that, then we can find where the lapses are. We also wait. Can you tell me your question again so I don't go the wrong direction?
Well, I didn't really have a question. I just don't like.
He says shooting's unique because you don't have data to compare with.
Yeah, you can't really measure the force somebody launches out of a position. You can't.
Yes, you can. There are force pads. You have to do
all right. Yeah.
Lab, but yeah.
So with racing, the data acquisition, people underestimate and even in airplane stuff, people underestimate the power of good data. Mm-hmm. And actually knowing not what you think happened, not what you feel happened, not what somebody thinks they saw happen, but what actually happened.
So I
go ahead. I actually have my students predict what they think their hit factor is going to be before they even shoot. So we set up a drill where they predict what they think they're going to do, and it's a reality check. So some people like to push a little too much and they might be below, and some people hold back and don't trust their skill or trust their speed, and they might actually be about, I think I said that backwards, but
that's okay. I think I understand what you mean.
Yeah, pushing, depending on how we define it, pushing is almost always bad. The only kind of pushing that can be good is but it's not pushing. A lot of shooters will be on the brakes a little bit, and that's not good. And then a lot of shooters will be on the gas, and that's also not good. So we want to get away from the conscious control of speed in competition. In training, we want to consciously control speed to find a new limit of human function, because something you do under a second feels a lot different than something you do in a second and a half.
And then when I'm collecting data points on certain shooters for long enough, I know exactly what their hit factor should be, and like to the 10th of a second. So I have one guy, Sam Callahan, who lives in Pennsylvania, teaches classes out there as well. I had a drill set up for my students, and he came out and I said, Sam, you're going to do this in a 14.53. And he goes, okay. And he did it.
He's like a little puppy.
Yeah, because I've been coaching him for so many years that I just know, and he just trusts me that I know his numbers.
The other thing she can do, she alluded to it briefly, but let's say you're in the bridesmaid position and there's a certain shooter you need to beat and you haven't been able to do so. She's done this in the past for people that want to win national titles. She can actually she can study both shooters and say, okay, this specifically is where you're getting beat. And unless you're at the very, very, very upper level, the very top, it's not going to be splits. And that's what people spend their time focused on. That causes more problems than it solves until you get to the very top.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, splits are dumb. Think about it. I can save, let's say I have a 25 split and I want an 18 split. That's 7/100ths of a second. And I'm going to risk Charlie Delta Mike for 7/100ths of a second. There's not a hit factor where that makes sense.
Yeah, and you need to be collecting data on every single thing you do. Every time you do a drill, you're flipping through the timer. You should know exactly what your transitions are for certain distances. You should know exactly how long it takes you to move from this target difficulty 8 feet across a wall onto this target difficulty. You should know all of your numbers for your current skill level. And also, as your skill progresses, be tracking as the bar raises. And then once you get up high enough, you also know those numbers for your greatest competitors. So you should be able to walk up to a stage and know what your hit factor should be, and also know what your greatest competitor's hit factor should be.
So for the people listening, do you want to explain hit factor?
It's points divided by time. That's all it is.
It's easier for me to understand as points per second. So
it is. Yeah, that's why
if I shoot 2 alphas in 1 second, that's 10 points divided by 1 second, or 10 points in 1 second. That's a 10 hit factor. And most of the people that are stuck in C class, you could probably get to B class, maybe A class, with a run fast, shoot fast mentality. But that stops working very dramatically. I would say high A master class, it stops working. Would you agree?
A class, yeah.
Yeah, A class. And so all they think have to do is run faster and shoot faster. Well, for a short-ish period of movement, I'm going to get into your land here just a little bit. Running faster creates a problem, because to go fast, you got to slow down. It's just like autocross, right? And autocross, I don't know much about it, but I would imagine you're not full throttle, if ever.
No, the turns are too tight.
Right. And so going fast would be a mistake in autocross,
Yeah, it's the thing, that so PCSL does hit factor scoring on rifle out to, I think, 100 or 200 yards.
Yeah, and they have a kill zone, which is very interesting.
Yeah, the K zone.
And that's really interesting because you could eliminate a reload. So in a strategy situation, that eliminating that reload could help. I think that's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, I really like. I want to actually. I'm trying to have Max on. I need to kind of lean on him a little bit, because he always says he's really busy, and he is. He's like
he is.
He just is a workaholic. But I need to get him on the show, and and there's some other people I want to have on too. This is kind of a new thing for me, to have people I know out in, or have awareness of out in the various sports that I participated in. I'll get some drivers on here eventually, and maybe some other team owners and things like that. But I'm starting with the shooting sports, because so much of what you're talking about, it relates to so many different things, that it's not specific to shooting. Although obviously hit factor is, and it's a kind of a weird.
Well, you could think of money as dollars per hour.
Yeah,
right. That's money has a hit factor. What's curious about shooting is people that are great. Like if you take anybody that is great at their job and knows it, they are using mental management to be great at their job.
Sure.
The problem is in shooting is that the duality of the scoring causes people to be perpetually unhappy. And because they're perpetually unhappy, they don't trust the skill. And because they never believe they get it right, they don't have a process to emulate. So if I'm never getting it right, or I feel like I'm never getting it right, I don't know what to do on match day, because I never get it right. But if I establish a standard and acknowledge that I've met it, and write down exactly what I did very specifically, now I have a recipe I can duplicate when I go to competition. But people aren't going to do that, right? So people will tell me, I'll do anything to be a national champion. And I'll say, okay, will you keep a record of your absolute best performance? No, I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, then you're not willing to do anything. You're willing to do some things, right? The old sign over the toilet says no job is finished till the paperwork is done. Well, that's the documentation of your great performance. That's the paperwork for the job. And you're not done until you wipe with it, right? Because that's what gives you your skill.
It's true.
Otherwise, you're going to leave skid marks.
Yeah.
It's gross. True. And if you got a woman doing your laundry, don't wear white underwear, because that's nasty.
That's also true. That's true.
Truth.
So let's so what I don't think that either of you are really involved that much in 2A activism or any of that kind of thing. So that's
I am vociferously for 2A advocacy.
Okay.
I'm not a bumper sticker guy for numerous reasons.
I'm not either.
I find, and this is not meant to start an argument, it's kind of an echo chamber for me. Like I don't need to sit and have dinner with somebody and have them tell me that everybody has a right to own a gun. I get it. What the 2A community needs to be doing is making a better case for less restrictions. But if I'm a national politician, that's scary. Like, do I really want to run for office in a would it be a blue state and advocate for lowering magazine capacity? Like, that's political suicide.
Yeah.
So we need to make a better case for why these things make sense. And my biggest beef with the NRA is, and the Republican Party in general, is they're trying to be a second place loser. Like, let's not lose any more rights. People are afraid to go after rights that we've already lost.
Pixie and I actually went to DC to advocate for 2A rights.
Are you part of
DC Project?
Yes. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's awesome that you are.
Well, specifically.
We just went and met with the congressmen from all the different states and offered some education. They just didn't know what they didn't know.
And I am not aware of any other item in which the item is blamed for the crime. And I'm not aware of any other item that is demonized. And I do understand why it exists, because, as I said, I was raised in a non-gun family, right? So when Bill Clinton gets up on SNL and plays the saxophone and he's a cool guy and he says guns are evil, I'm like, ooh, the cool guy's got to be right. He's playing a saxophone. Guns are bad. But as soon as you get into the gun culture, you realize that a 10-round magazine and a 15-round magazine are the same. Like, there's no difference. Yeah, I got to do a reload, sure. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing that happens is the media owns the terms. Like, how many times have you heard the gun went off? Well, guns don't go off. Somebody pulls the trigger. Right?
I wouldn't talk to Sig about that right now.
You know, that's really fascinating to me. I personally don't think that those guns are capable of self-detonating. I think too many engineers looked at it. Bruce Gray tore it apart, and Bruce Gray has a vested interest in those.
Yeah. I think Bruce Gray's look,
but he's a smart guy.
He's biased, but if there was a problem with it, he would say, "Hey, here's a problem."
I know Bruce Gray. I know him personally. He is not going to hang a shingle out that says SIG if he does not believe that product is safe. He won't do it. He would literally tell SIG to pound sand if he thought somebody would die in a self-detonation.
Yeah.
Sure, he has a vested interest, but he's a good, godly man. He doesn't have a vested interest in seeing people die.
Yeah.
Now the CZ is far more dangerous. The CZ, when you drop it on the ground, there's no trigger safety, so it can go off. That's
1911
very dangerous.
Well. Yeah, 1911 as well.
I think not. Oh, you're right. Series 70 wouldn't have a trigger safety.
Yeah, only the Series 80, and there's so few of those out. But everybody hates the Series 80.
Wouldn't an active grip safety prevent that, or could it still go off?
Well, the idea is that the firing pin's not locked, and that especially if you put in a lighter firing pin spring.
I see.
Which a lot of people do. All right, so it's this catch-22, right? So you buy a brand new Kimber, and it comes with a firing pin spring that may produce light strikes because it's got to be so heavy that when they drop it, the firing pin, the inertia can't make it hit the primer.
There is no spring or trigger job in the world that justifies a single light striking competition.
Yeah. And so you have this conundrum where you buy this brand new Kimber and you take it home and maybe it does a light strike, maybe it doesn't, whatever the deal is. But you take it apart and you put in Brazos or Wilson Combat or pick your brand. You put in their enhanced firing pin spring, and now the gun, in theory, if you dropped it hard enough on concrete on a Tuesday when the sun was in the right area, it might have enough inertia to detonate a round.
Sure.
Have I seen it? No. Have I heard about it? Yes. I have a titanium. I'm a big fan of light firing pins and titanium firing pins. So I'm out.
I'm a big fan of things that work and are easy to use and inspire people to practice.
Right. Yeah. See, you get it. I knew
like my Walthers are bone stock. And I've got a couple of Walthers coming with performance triggers in them because I said, hey, can I get a performance trigger? Because Jay Beal told me to use one. And he's like, honestly, it's easier just to send you a new gun because we're out of triggers. I'm like, okay, I'll take another gun. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I saw was a triangle trigger. Went off without ever being touched. The lady was starting at surrender. The beep went off. She moved her hand, and it went off at holster.
What's interesting is I have seen it, and I know someone that has and received such an injury from it that that they were no longer able to compete, and in fact they became they basically lost use of their right leg.
Mm-hmm.
So
was she
this
from
lady,
North Dakota?
Huh?
Was she from North Dakota?
Maybe. So she had a Glock.
Was it pink?
It might have been. I don't remember.
I think we're talking about the same person.
Okay, I'll tell you what I know, and you can compare notes. So I competed with this lady. She had bought this. I believe it was a Glock 34 as an upgrade. It had a trigger job in it. It was owned by a local, local hero.
Triangle.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Is it pyramid trigger or triangle trigger? For some reason, I get those mixed up.
I don't know. The one in this gun was Zev. The one in the gun that went off was a Zev. So she buys this gun from a local hero, USPSA guy, no problems with it. She's going to use it for 3 guns. So she thought the trigger was a little light, but she was going to do some training classes. So she's in this class, in an indoor range.
Nope, that was not me.
She puts the gun, she makes ready, puts the gun in the holster. Her hands are, at shoulder high, and the gun goes off.
That sounds just like yours.
Yeah. You sure it was indoor?
I believe it was indoor. I could be wrong.
It was,
but I thought it was indoor. The gun went off. It went through the hip, down through the calf, tore it all up.
Mechanically, what happened? Obviously, the distractor was set, and whatever holds the distractor failed. Pardon?
Do you guys know Mark Pasamanik?
Nope.
Okay. So Mark Pasamanik is an engineer, and he testified as an expert witness in the court case. It was a Zev trigger, and it had been basically adjusted to the point in the Glock where it really wasn't actually engaging. And once it wore and it got some rounds on it, it just didn't hold properly. And it just, for whatever reason, it let go. And
yeah, I mean, you start modifying guns to that extent, you're eventually going to compromise safety. And the worst part of it is none of it is necessary for good performance. Not a single. I mean, yes, a good trigger job can be helpful.
Oh yeah,
when you fire it, but let's not get crazy here.
Right.
And you only really notice a super light trigger like that in dry fire when you're shooting live rounds and you're thinking about something else. You're not going to know the difference.
Yes.
Between 3.5.
Yes. And I have the only thing I really care about is the trigger is consistent. I have on my XDM, I had the grip obviously it has the grip safety. And because I figured it out that the grip is so slick that as I'm shooting a long string, it would move slightly in my grip, and then the grip safety would kind of sort of engage, and it would change the weight of the trigger.
Sure, of course.
And it immediately throws me off because I'm like, there's something wrong with the gun. The trigger doesn't feel like.
While we're talking about safety, I want to bring something up.
Sure.
Many people will attempt to hit the magazine release without shifting their grip. And that's incredibly dangerous.
Sure.
Because as your grip is normalized, the more force you put on that thumb, the trigger finger starts to move right? The harder you do this, I think that's called sympathetic movement, typically.
Yes, it is sympathetic movement. Yep.
And it's not very sympathetic when you send around over the berm, because as that happens, and I know this because I did this. I had when I was working with Bull, they sent me a gun with the mag release, and I thought, ooh, I can do this without shifting my grip, and I did, and I touched one off over the berm.
I currently shoot a Bull most of the time.
They're great guns.
Yeah,
and,
they really are.
The thing is, when you shift your grip, not only do you get better purchase on the mag button, but your trigger finger actually goes away from the trigger.
True.
Much safer.
I have gotten to the point now where when I drop the mag, I shift my grip and I hit that mag button and I do that wick flip, and that mag is gone. And it's not because I'm afraid of it not dropping out of the gun. I'm afraid I'm going to step on it, or something is going to happen. And
so ever since you slid on,
since I've landed on my face, but
negative imprint, yeah.
And I do the same thing with a rifle. I've had where the rifle mags have gotten gunked up or whatever, and you have to physically remove them. Yeah. And now I'm like, I hit that mag release and I throw that mag out. I mean, that mag's gone. Like I started doing it really to just make sure 100% that the mag was out of the way. Sure. I actually think I started doing it because of the SIG. The SIG had some mags, because it's a polymer gun. It had some mags that would fall free and some mags wouldn't.
Yeah, Glocks are typically the worst. I call that the Glock flick.
Yes.
Because, plastic mag, plastic gun, light mag.
Yeah.
And people want to start turning the gun. They want to start turning the gun before the mag is cleared, so it's not vertical anymore. So the better solution would be to try to keep the gun a little bit more vertical, or shoot a Walther. Those are your two options. It work well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've watched a guy on the last stage of a match during a reload take a bad bounce with like a 2-pound trigger, and it just stroked one off right over the berm.
Yeah, that can happen too.
Watched it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, let's talk about your embolism really quick. Let's just kind of shift gears.
I think the embolism is what I did not have. I think that's what would have killed me.
Okay.
So I had some lifestyle factors. I recently lost about 30 pounds, and I began to work out more. And during my divorce and some very stressful things, I went from about 10 smokes a day to probably closer to 30 smokes a day.
Wow.
And I always thought of cigarettes as a long-term health problem. I did not think of them as a short-term problem. I've never smoked for more than about 5 years continuously without a significant break. But you're never, smokers, I used to say you never really quit, you just take breaks. I've resolved to quit smoking cigarettes forever. I'm just never going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I don't want to die. Like 9 months ago, I wouldn't have cared. But now I'm so happy and my life is so great. I don't want to die. And if that means I can't smoke cigarettes, I'm cool with that deal.
Yeah, I like that. Let me ask you just, and you don't have to answer, but
that's whatever you want.
So you say you lost like 30 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So when I didn't finish my story about, the heart is health thing and all of that. So when I hurt my leg and the knee and the hip, it took me about 6 months to actually like really kind of recover. And then after that, my knees still bothered me. By the way, the treatment for my knee injury was amazing. What actually ended up solving it freaked me out, but it was amazing.
Counterintuitive?
It was called dry needling. So the idea was that I had damaged it, and I had ignored it and just been my usual hard-headed self and continued to walk and run and try and do the things I do every day with all of this strained muscle, and the muscle's so knotted up, it just would not unknot. And so the thought behind it, as I understand it, is what they do is they stick this needle in and they shock that muscle to release or to move or do something, and then it goes back. If you had told me that, well, they did tell me that. They didn't tell me exactly how it was supposed to work. They just said, hey, you're going to go for dry needling. And I'm like, okay, whatever. If they told me that it was as effective as it was, I would have called them liars. And if they told me that it was going to hurt as much as it did, I would not have gone and done it. But I'm telling you, it was amazing.
That's great.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Trying to help people with the mental game, I have to force them to do it. We worked with a guy just this last week, a very, very smart guy. He's a project manager, super, super smart guy. And I'm explaining to him the simplicity of competition, and he refuses to believe it because he's a smart guy. And when people do well in life because they're smart, they don't typically want to do things that are simple. Really smart people like things that are simple, right?
Yes.
So, and this guy, 1 week later, he wins his match trying my simple method, and I could not get him to quit talking about it.
That's awesome.
And I was begging him to let it be simple. And the funniest thing was, on this same call, we had a master class shooter who was agreeing with me and he goes, yeah, Steve's absolutely right. And so now you've got Anderson telling him, certified mental management coach, you've got a master class shooter, the best shooter in the class. And this guy still wants to go out and think about every little thing that he's doing because he doesn't trust that his skill will be there. So I was like, man, just try it. He did, and he won his match.
And that's why he was my favorite, because he didn't trust his own skill. And I could tell he was about to discover things about himself.
Yeah, we got done with that class, and Kita's like, what was that guy's name? Mike. She's like, I want to adopt him. He's my favorite. I'm like, you can have him. I want the master class.
That's
shooter.
awesome. It's yeah. So I would never have thought the dry needling worked, but it did. And
just like people don't think dry fire is going to work. Just like people think.
Well, no, I know dry fire works. I just don't. I think most people don't do it enough. I think people in their mind, they think 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day is enough. And I think, anyway.
So I have to get to C class. Let's go back to my blood clot for a second.
People
say that cigarette smoking is one of the hardest habits to break. When I tell you that it was the easiest thing that I have ever done, you may not believe me. But I thought about it, and we talked about like a budget of 4 or 5 smokes a day would probably not kill me. So I get up Friday morning, I'm flying to a class, I'm wearing the boot, I'm on crutches, and I have 2 cigarettes. And I think, okay, I've been up for 2 hours, I've had 2 smokes, I've got 3 left. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make the number 0. Just like that. Because pay value is the only reason a human being will ever change. Pay value, right? New girlfriend syndrome is the easiest. When a guy gets in a new relationship, there is nothing he won't do. Nothing. He'll drive 2 hours to get sushi because the perceived pay value is so high. A little later on,
that's not inaccurate. Dude,
I'm a man.
That sounds absolutely true. That sounds very, very
right.
I wouldn't want to bet against that.
But 3 years later, you've been married for 3 years, and she's like, let's drive 2 hours. Number one, she won't say let's drive 2 hours for sushi. But if she does, a good man would remember that the same pay value, and he would do it if it was important to her. An average man or below average man, her pay value has gone down in his mind. He's no longer willing to do it. In my case, my pay value was staying alive.
So I've been married 20 years.
Congratulations.
And I still, like earlier today, my wife called and I stopped. I was on air. I was having a great show. I stopped what I was doing. I answered the phone call for what my wife wanted. That's a whole other conversation. It'll be great. We'll have that sometime.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You probably had a rough patch, right, in your marriage at some point?
I mean, kind of, but early on in my relationship. Let me get through the thing because I'm interested about the weight, and we'll come back. We'll revisit this in just a second. I promise.
Okay. We don't have a lot of time remaining because I have
to. That's why I want to kind of just.
If we could be kind of succinct, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious because I put on about 30 pounds over the past year and a half because. So easy to get rid of. But mostly initially because of the injury, and then you may have noticed I have bad habits. One of my bad habits is that when I would go back to working out, I would work out too hard,
Sure.
and then I would be sore for the next week or whatever. And it was just it was a yo-yo effect, right? What we all read about it. We all read about the yo-yo effect, and I certainly hit it. So I'm interested in how you managed to knock the weight out. I'm very curious about that.
You want to know that you want the diet part or the mental part?
Either or, whatever you want to dive into.
Okay, so I have a moderation issue in my life. If more of anything, if anything is good, then more has to be better. So pecan pie, if some is good, more is better.
Love
pizza. If some is good, more is better.
Cologne.
Cologne. If some is good, more is better. And I don't know that I do struggle with that. But with regard to losing weight, all you have to do is want something else more than you want calories. That is literally all you have to do. And people that are happily married, it's very, very challenging because your life's not going to change if you lose 15 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. But hang on. But for a single man or an athlete or somebody like me, my biggest deal was I didn't like how I looked in videos. So I wasn't making videos and I was avoiding pictures. Well, pictures and videos are powerful marketing. And if I shy away from pictures and videos, that's not good for business. Right. So what I did was I identified very specific pay value and I chose to want those things more than I wanted calories. I was also guilty of just because beers, the just because beers, like the 3 o'clock Saturday beer, you know, well, that's some number of calories. It's not doing anything for you. It's like eating 4 loaves. Oh, you know what I'm going to do at 4 o'clock? I'm going to have 4 pieces of bread. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I had to want my pay value more than I wanted those things. And on the technical side, lettuce has 0 calories. Salsa has 0 calories. Pickles, 0 calories. And I like things that are crunchy and I like a lot of food. So I would frequently eat a head of lettuce with salsa on it, a little bit of chicken, and some pickles. Now, there's not a lot of variety in that, but remember, I want to lose weight more than I want just about anything else.
Sure.
And I love salad. I love crunchy stuff. I love salsas. This is a pleasant meal for me. And literally, and that's probably when you put a little chicken in there, you're getting close to 500, 600 calories. It just falls off you. You do that once a day.
I think for the way his brain works, it's going to be a little different.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think everybody's a little different. That's an interesting. That's an interesting way, and I've heard similar things before. That's very interesting. So I appreciate you sharing.
Dr. Busse has a prescription for you.
Go ahead.
So there, those apps you can get where you track your calories, track your exercise. You said you're very competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you start actually tracking that and actually doing it, do it for 2 weeks. I guarantee you will become competitive against yourself.
Yeah.
That's kind of what works for me. That is exactly kind of what
I am not going to advocate for any diet plan at all.
Sure.
Because they all work. Okay. What I'm suggesting is when you identify something you want more than being fat, it's pretty easy. All the human being has to do is want something else more than they want to be fat. And it's easy.
Where I struggled, to be honest with you initially, is that I would get in the gym and instead of doing and I knew, so here's the thing. And I am very competitive, Keita. I will compete at anything. I will race anything with wheels. I traded race cars for race guns. I literally everything is fair game to be competitive at. And so you're right about that. So my problem is I would go to the gym and I've actually had to take a step back and really look at what I was actually doing, right? I would go to the gym and instead of just doing a good workout, burn some calories, low impact, all that stuff, I would go in and I would hit the treadmill for an hour. I would then
that's the worst kind of running you can do.
I would do I'd do like a 4.5 mile an hour pace. So kind of in between that, it was more like a shuffle, So
the problem with the treadmill is that your feet are always landing
She wants you. Oh, guess not.
Yeah.
The
Gotcha.
treadmill, your feet are always landing exactly the same
Yeah.
every single time. You need to have that flux. You need to have your foot land a little differently every time. Otherwise, it causes a repetitive injury. I can't speak. A repetitive injury.
Yeah, and I mean no kid. I would, and then I go do because during all of this the year and a half that I was injured, I used to have very strong thighs. I kid you not, I've lost probably an inch, maybe an inch and a half off of my thighs of just muscle, and I'm
So can I add?
so annoying.
Can I add one quick thing here?
Yeah, man.
On the subject of achieving goals, shooting, weight loss, whatever it is, people get addicted to the accomplishment when they need to get addicted to the lifestyle.
I can see that. Yeah.
Oh, it's 100% true. For example, if somebody wants to be a grandmaster, they need to be living like a grandmaster. Otherwise, they will obsess with videos of grandmasters, and they'll think about, ooh, I want to be a grandmaster, and they're addicted to the accomplishment. When they get addicted to the process of dry firing 2 hours a day, grandmaster becomes inevitable. Previously, when I attempted to lose weight, I was addicted to the number 199. And I wanted to change my life as little as possible to have the scale 199. It didn't work. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go deeper than 199. I'm not sure where I'm going to go, but I'm going to do these things every single day without fail. And I got addicted to the lifestyle. That's when it happened.
Yeah. So, and I'm in this, again, I'm kind of a weird dude. So I've never drank. I've never smoked. I've never tried drugs. None of that. So it's very weird. I know I'm strange guy.
So everybody thinks they're normal, and you're normal, right? There's not a lot of real positives that come from tobacco, alcohol, or illegal drugs. We human beings like them because they can quote unquote turn their brain off for a little while. And again, I have found a little bit of moderation. I was drinking very excessively, like a lot, when I was going through my divorce, and I was drinking to escape. Now I drink substantially less to have fun.
Yeah.
I actually pulled off a little bit of a moderation trick.
Moderation, yeah.
Oh,
That's, I mean, all of that's great. I was just kind of interested, because I like to ask people who've accomplished this stuff. And I think, Keita, you're right. I know that I go to, my wife thinks I'm avoiding the gym, but I'm not. I'm just not. I walk. I can trail run. We have trails around here.
Trails are better.
You haven't found something that you want more than what you are right now.
I'm down. I'm getting closer to where I want to be. I've lost weight. I'm moving down. My problem is my problem right now is it's the balancing act of losing the weight and regaining the muscle without without re-injuring myself until I have that strength. So it's an interest, I just was curious, it's not everything that, everybody has a different technique.
I mean, is there a topic upon which more books have been written than weight loss?
No, well, yes, but
what would it be? Religion?
Relationships. And we'll just talk about that really quickly since you asked me earlier.
Oh, wow. Oh.
See, I got you.
I have some theories. I mean, I'll be happy to share my theories with you.
Well, let me share you one of my theories, just because it kind of leads into why I've been married the way I've been married. I've only ever been married one time. I have 2 kids, and that's it. No, baby mamas out there, none of that. But I'm not a pillar of virtue. I went, I got out of high school. I was in a military school. So and that's another reason why I am the way I am. And I was warped in their image. And so I went into college, dated, almost got married twice. Both times just didn't happen. Various reasons, nothing, nobody's car got keyed or anything. Just ended. And I decided, right as I was about to graduate, I'm like, I don't have time for I do not have time for marriage. I do not have time for the burden that a relationship puts on me. I have to go I had decided at that point that I was going to do something other than what I had a degree in, and I really wanted to continue racing. So, there was no woman alive that would have tolerated the way that I lived. I mean, I was.
You wanted
You're wrong
racing.
about that.
you wanted racing more than you wanted a
Yeah,
relationship.
absolutely. There was a period of my life for about 3 years, and I've told my audience this many times, and they won't be surprised. But there was a period of my life for about 3 years where I did not have I didn't have a home. I was technically homeless.
Yeah.
All of my mail went to my grandmother's house. When I was in town for more than a day or two, I stayed either at at a relative's house or at a friend's house, and other than that, I lived in hotel rooms and at the shop.
I did that for 6 months. I just came out of mine. I didn't have an address until probably I don't know.
It's interesting, right? It's an interesting way to live.
I got rehomed like a misbehaving animal. I just got invited to leave the house I was paying for.
Yeah, it was. It's an interesting way to live, and so I developed this idea watching all of my friends go through divorce after divorce after divorce, and give away things, or in the case of my female friends, go through just horrible breakups. And I decided that I developed this this observation that if a young man is not married by the time he's 24. Put it off until you're in your 30s, because you're probably going to do more damage to yourself and whatever poor woman you get your hooks into than just being alone and just, have relationships, sure, date, whatever, but just don't get serious. I mean, you need to build yourself. You need to build a career. You need to build a life. You need to build.
Yeah, I don't believe in rules like that. I believe in
certain. Well, it's not a rule per se.
It's a rule.
It's a philosophy.
Actually, I do believe in rules, just not that one.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay. I mean, look, I have a lot of people that disagree with me, but I have. It seems that tends to be a good
gauge.
Now,
that's great.
That men, so every man is a complete dumbass until they're 25, and then
no. Actually, it's more about the women. So. The observation is I have a degree in psychology. So I did not
know that.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I have the most useless money I've ever spent in my life was a college degree, but I walked out of it with a double major psychology and criminal justice, and I have minored in philosophy with an emphasis on Asian thought.
So you're a corrections officer now. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I should be probably. My observations have been that if a young man and a young woman get married when they're young and they don't have anything, or they have just what their parents have given them, they kind of come up together. They go through the hardship together. They build that life together, and they they tend to stay together more often than not. It's not a true, look, we're working with like 60-40 here at this point, just because divorce is so common. And then, but once you get into that a man gets to be 25, he's not, especially if he's dating in his age group, it's really, it's the amount of, I don't know. I can say it. I don't want to be rude. I
don't think I'm going to be offended. And if it's not
okay, yeah, I don't want to offend him. It's the amount of damage that I observed in most women that I dated during that period of time, the baggage they carry, the damage they carry. It's tough to deal with. And if you can, dude, you're a yeoman. You have.
A woman has every right to be scared after a trauma. She should.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not dismissing that at all.
No question about it.
Yeah, not dismissing that.
A good man is going to see.
I'm acknowledging that, right? I'm acknowledging that.
Yeah. So I think relationship boils down to how people. So if I understand that word right, it's how two people relate to each other. And the problem that I see is, if a giver winds up with a taker, that's going to be a big problem. I think two givers can hang and two takers can learn to hang, but a giver and a taker, that ain't gonna work.
There's some truth to that. I think that more often than not, that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah. Every person in
high average, right? That's
is
a
either
high
a
average.
giver or a taker.
Oh,
And
Arthur
the taker
Dyer.
doesn't do anything wrong because they're just living a life. The giver just gets exhausted and can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And Arthur Dyer is correct. Statistically, marrying younger in early 20s has a higher divorce rate. Yeah, I used to say that if you're not married, but people get married at 18, but I don't think that holds true as much anymore.
There's a lot to be said if you want to have kids for starting that process so that the kids are in the house while you're still relatively.
Yes, too bad Anson Knowles isn't in the audience.
You might also be giving up some, it all depends. Again, pay value. Right?
Yeah.
Some people would rather have kids than do young person things.
Yeah. And obviously all women are different. All men are different. I'm speaking in vast generalities here. One of the things that we have in this sphere, if you will, that I exist in YouTube on is we have this red pill mentality, and it's not specifically toxic, but it has some points to it that I really disagree with. There's some that I really kind of agree with, but for the most part, I think that, or I've observed that I never want to get divorced. I never wanted to get divorced. I never thought I'd get married because I never wanted to get divorced. I watched friend after friend after friend go through divorce, and it sucks so bad.
Sure.
I don't care, male or female. I've literally watched what it feels like the life being sucked out of people, and it's just so bad. And so I determined early on that if I ever got married, I'd do it one time.
That's a choice you make.
That's it.
And from a mental management perspective, ideas become normal with repetition. And if a couple allows that word into their home and into their conversations, that has become inevitable.
Yeah. And when I own this,
you don't use that. And that's not the only reason it happens. I'm just saying, with all things being equal, you don't let that word into your home, into your life, into your conversation.
You never let it be a threat.
Right.
Yeah.
That word, done.
It becomes inevitable. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. There's like a whole bunch of stuff there, but
repetition makes it
but
it becomes an option the more you say it.
Yeah. And
outside of infidelity or abuse, which changes things. I'm talking about two people.
Let me ask you a question. I'm really just interested in the answer. It has no bearing on anything. It's not a trip up or anything.
Of all the things I'm qualified to give advice on,
you've been doing. I feel really bad. I feel absolutely horrible for you that you've been divorced so many times. I can't even imagine how that like rips at you, man. Like and maybe I'm just different because I absolutely love my wife. There are no other women on the earth that compare to my wife.
It's fantastic.
I'll tell you that right now.
That wouldn't be my reason, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask me your question because
I'm just curious. So do you think that? So one of the talking points in today's society is that women feel more empowered through feminism and all of these other things, that after a few years they get bored with a man and just want to change out, basically. I'm not simplifying things.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would never feel that way personally. I'm a little traditional, so I feel like once you
you're a lot traditional, Keita, and we love you for it.
I feel like once you make that commitment, you make that commitment, and then you have to choose every day to be with that person.
See that I like that.
And both people have to make the same choice every day. One person can't do it.
Right. It's a very interesting dynamic, right?
And
like
if
for
you're not
me,
willing to make that choice, you're not ready to get married.
Yeah, just my perspective, right? Like this is just my experience. This has literally probably no bearing on anybody else on the planet. But when I didn't want to get married because I knew my life was super unstable. No woman would tolerate any of my lifestyle. I spent ridiculous amounts of money on stupid things that furthered my career, but it would be very hard to justify that to someone who wanted to stay home and raise a family and all of that. So I knew that I couldn't try. I just knew 100% it's not going to work. So right when I was about 33, 34, I dated this girl. All of a sudden I was like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty stable right now. Like, I'm not moving from here. I'm pretty stable. I should probably think about getting married. And I did. And once I made the decision to get married, this is really funny because this is going to play into his mental game thing. Once I made the decision to get married, I was married within about a year and a half.
Yeah, it became inevitable.
And I tried to, and one of the things is obviously I had all of this data from previous engagements of, what women I was looking for. I understood right from the go that, and I did try many times, dating women in my age group was ridiculous. They had most of them had been married and divorced, or there was a reason they had never gotten married. A lot of them had baggage and very toxic attitudes towards men, which was weird, but okay. They're allowed to do that. That's fine. And I ended up dating younger and younger and younger and younger. My wife is 11 years younger than I am.
Cool.
And that worked out perfect for me. Would it work out perfect for everyone? Probably not. But we've been married 20 years. Early on, you asked about fighting or things. We will have arguments, but we never go to bed truly angry at each other, and we never have slept in separate rooms or any of that. We've never made that's like just part of the relationship is before, if we have something between us, if there's an argument or I'm angry or she's angry, before we go to sleep, we do not go to sleep angry at each other.
That's great. Well, speaking of going to sleep, I do have a very
you should go to bed.
Early
it's
flight
late
tomorrow. I apologize. Thank you
late.
so much for your time, and thank you so much for watching.
No, thank you. You've made it almost the whole show, and you tolerated me, which is great. You're welcome to come back anytime. You may have noticed that the moderators in the chat have been spamming your channels throughout the entirety of this. And so people will be able to find you. They'll subscribe. It'll be great for everyone.
Yeah. So I just want to do just a little bit of quick marketing.
Sure. Absolutely.
My business model is that if you have a shooting range with normal USPSA props and you can get me onto that range, that person is called the class sponsor. They can literally get the class for free. And you just need to email steve@andersonshooting.com. Your business model is not the same as that. So you want to talk about yours?
Well, for my class, I need 2 bays that allow side berm impacts. Outdoor obviously is best for that. Same thing with the typical USPSA props. I do 8 students, but if you host me and 8 students are paid, I'm willing to offer a free slot in exchange for the hosting.
Perfect. And then, so you can get me, steve@andersonshooting.com. You can get her 180firearmstraining@gmail.com. And if you want both of us, we didn't have time to talk about it, but the class we do together is the most revolutionary handgun, practical shooting training on the planet.
I've never seen that much progress after one class.
Never.
Awesome.
So each of us individually aren't the same as what we can do together on the range.
And you can hear us talk about it on my YouTube channel, Anderson Shooting. And you can check out a podcast called Chicks Get Splits. That's what Keita Busse said.
I did say that.
And it's hilarious. So thank you so much for your time. I'm off to Virginia to have another great class.
Pardon me. One thing with if I know that Keita, you have been to Dead Zero in Spencer, Tennessee before. If you come back to that range, I actually have a house on Timms Ford Lake, and if it's available, which it usually is, you guys are welcome to stay there.
Well, why don't we just contact the range and pick a date and get this thing going? Why don't we email back and forth? We'll pick a date and.
Well, I don't think they do USPSA there. They don't have a.
I think we can
they
probably
only-
make it work one way or the other. Do you know?
Yeah,
the
but you guys are welcome, and when you're in the area, if it's available. Like right now, it's we Airbnb it out mostly. We don't stay there very much, but
well, then you can Keita and Steve it out.
yeah, you guys can certainly use it, and it's a nice 3-bedroom house.
We
which
will
walk
we
to the
will be
lake.
in contact with you about that via email tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can put together something, and that'll save you some of your cost. Really appreciate you doing the show. Welcome back anytime, and you know, it was really great. Tell your friends to come on my show.
Yeah, have a great evening. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Yes, have a great night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
And we're out. See ya.
See ya. All right. I'm a weirdo? I'm not a weirdo. Not a weirdo. Well, that was fun. That was funny. I don't think they're a couple, Nico Pluto. Could be. I don't know. I don't think they're a couple. They just work together a lot. Yeah. That was really good. It was a good stream, guys. I wish more people had been here. Grumple Stillskin's going to be very angry, but that he missed it all. But he can watch it on the VOD, and it's all cool. Should I go over to the Tomato? And is the Tomato still going? Oh, the Tomato is still going, but the guy left. So I'm very, very curious to see if he just quit or what. The Gauntlet, yes, thank you. It was a great show, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying to get more of my shooting buddies to come on, and if that happens, that'll be awesome. If not, you know, it's less awesome. But hopefully, we can get more of these guys to come on. It was very interesting to hear their opinions on movement and everything else, and we'll go from there. Really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Arthur Daya even made it here, even though it's an off night at an off time. She actually found the stream. That's awesome, Arthur Daya. That's awesome. Good on you. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to probably go over there and just listen for a minute and see if I want to jump up, and we'll see. So, yeah, good on you, Arthur Daya. Good to see you. What do you think of the conversation, Arthur Daya, that you heard? Nico Pluto, you missed out earlier, man. I had the guy who actually had the Orange Mad Bad topic got wrecked by me. I should have wrecked him twice, but yeah, the gun talk was pretty good tonight. Yeah. But you missed out on all the movement and mental process and all of that. You'll have to watch it. It's really good. All right, guys. I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to go over. I might play over on the Tomato. Maybe not. I don't know. It looks like they got a pretty full panel, and we'll see. We'll see if I go over there. Unfortunately, the guy who started the whole thing is gone, and that's who I want to wreck. I am surprised Clover didn't show up as well. I wore my hat and everything for Clover, repping him out, you know. So it's cool. You weren't a weirdo. You were fine. All right, you guys have a great rest of your night. As always, be cool. Wear glasses if you need them. Get off my lawn.